All right, look. Here, Gabe. I'm gonna go get a bucket. Keep recording.
Go, pull. Just pull.
I actually felt really bad when we didn't have all of Mike's video. I felt so bad.
Guys, 5 minutes because I have plans. Do you guys want to? Because honestly, they called me asking me the dates. They said any date before the 1st that's not next Monday.
For what?
For the Grizzly game. I can pick the date in which we go to the Grizzly games.
Oh, shit. There's a Grizzly game?
Yeah.
My bad. Okay. My bad. Let me just drink instead.
Yeah. How do you... Why is it...
White Claw?
That's the weirdest... What is this?
You're going to like it.
Sorbet seltzer?
Tastes great.
Is this coffee?
No.
Oh, if you're not going to use it, leave it here. But if you're going to talk, use the mic.
Boysenberry?
Are we started?
Yeah, we're starting.
Yeah,
already.
we've been started.
Kevin.
Oh, wait. Did we start with a prayer?
No.
Let's start with a prayer. No, we started with a prayer, too. We just didn't do it before the cameras came on.
We do the halftime with a prayer.
Take off my hat.
Yes, sir.
Kevin's
All
like,
right.
bless us, O Lord, and these things.
That's crazy. You want to start it, Diego, or you want me to get it?
You got it.
In the name of Father, Son, Holy Spirit. Amen. Thank you, Heavenly Father, for allowing us to gather here today with the intention of fellowship and brotherhood to help each other grow in faith and masculinity. May we continue to serve you and all those around us, and may this podcast serve you. In the name of the Father, the Son, the Holy Spirit. Amen.
Amen.
So, the first episode of the Honorary Firefighters podcast.
I like how you're like, I don't want to be like Joe
We're
Rogan.
getting a new logo for this one.
Honorary Firefighters is just a freaking cool name,
Welcome
though.
to the... We got to deliver everything.
Father
We gotta deliver
Larry.
everything. Choose
Now you need to
different
do
name,
that
different
devotion.
chairs.
It's a sign.
It is. I'm sorry,
Isn't
Father
that
Larry.
Father...
It is Father Larry's book.
Put it back up.
I am going to put it back up. Okay.
Can Christian give the story of how Honorary Firefighters came to be?
Yes.
Me?
Christian knows
Yes,
the
you're the
story.
best storyteller.
Wait, why is this red?
So I was smoking a cigar.
So Diego was smoking a cigar and he lit up a field on fire.
It's all right. It was 4th of July.
No, it was the 4th of July. Was it
was.
last year? It was
Yeah.
last year, huh?
Yeah.
Last year,
Yeah. Yeah, it was.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, and Gabe was here too.
Gabe was here too. Yes.
It
So
was
it
last
was
year.
us 4 plus 1. We were here just chilling out as friends, drinking cold ones, talking, sharing funny stories.
I made some pretty good chicken that day.
He did make
You
some
did
pretty
make
good chicken
fire
that
chicken.
day. And we were just here minding our own business when all of a sudden a neighbor comes knocking on the door and says, "Yo, Diego, your backyard, it's on fire." And we all just go, "Huh?" And we jump up out of our chairs, go back. Sure enough, right here in the back where the Burger King is was on fire.
The whole
Most likely
field.
from someone not knowing how to point fireworks. But we got busy. We got a bucket.
We got a bucket and a
jumped
hose.
The fence, yeah, and a water hose. And
I did jump.
we sparked there, and then
Did you mention how this door was closed and we had to go around? I wasn't paying attention.
Oh, yeah, we had to go through the whole house. We were running
we
through the
did.
house
We
because
had
this
to-
was closed.
Yeah, I have a back gate back here, and we're all just trying to open it. They're like, just pull it, just pull it, just pull it. Gabe
Yeah.
was about to jump the door,
Yeah.
so we just went through the house.
We just went through the house. We jumped the fence. I was wearing my Yeezys. I felt bad because I used that to smolder the fire, if I'm being honest. That sucked. Those things are still black on the
The
bottom.
GoFundMe for Alex's Yeezys is still up.
Yes,
We
please.
have gathered at least 30 cents for Alex's new pair of Yeezys.
if EA is watching, if you can please sponsor Alex.
Nope, no, no.
Kanye,
I don't know how I would feel about that.
Drop
Especially with
another
those
song.
recent tweets.
drop a new banger, dude.
We love those songs. No, we don't.
Actually, if you guys want to help, get us a new microphone because this quality sounds really bad. Can you hear it?
Yeah, we can hear it, but it just sounds like
It sounds like
Shit.
I'm.
shit.
What does it sound like?
It sounds kind of like you're
Like,
speaking
"Hi,
through a tunnel.
welcome to.
It does actually
radio,"
sound like an
the-
airline pilot.
He
Like,
does, right?
it does.
It sounds like air control, dude.
This is your pilot speaking.
Just give him a head.
We're passing through the Grand Canyon. If you look at your left,
The Grand Canyon.
And the fasten seatbelt sign is on. So can we please take our seats?
You're gonna need your seatbelts for this podcast.
And the non-smoking sign.
Can
just
the
came
guy,
on.
can the man with the Burger King crown please sit down?
No, hold up. Let's let that guy speak. I think he has something important to say.
Have you seen the AI edit of it?
No.
Dude, someone used AI to make him like everything but his mouth like changes. So he's just like asking very, very loudly, "Can I get a water?" Like, and everyone's reacting around him, like trying to shut him up and everything. He's just
That's
going, "Can I get
crazy.
a water? Can I please get a water? I just
There-
want water."
There's some unhinged stuff on Instagram though. Very unhinged stuff. Once you get to that side of Instagram, then you don't go back.
Really?
Yeah, if you get onto the unhinged side of Instagram, you don't want to go back. I'm not talking about the inappropriate stuff. It's just like the humor is so dark.
It gets crazy.
It's so bad.
It gets so funny though.
Did you guys ever like when that one day Instagram just went like full cartel reels?
Yes.
Wait, it was
what
just
that?
showing a bunch
what time?
of.
That happened like multiple times.
It was showing just a bunch of people dying
Yeah, that's all it was showing.
on everyone's feed.
Oh,
There was also a day where it was showing everyone just straight up.
And the
borderline
description
porn.
was like
There was that day, and everyone got. For some reason, no one was on Instagram that day. No one that I knew at least.
The descriptions on those cartel murders were like, check out the new 2023 Lexus. I think that's the only way they got away with it, because whatever you write in the description is how it checks
Oh
it.
yeah, it does. The bigger the caption, the more views you're gonna get because
Mm.
it like runs off. So they would have like, this is the details about the Honda CXR or something like
Is that why I see those comments?
Yes,
captions
because
all the
that's
time?
Yeah.
the bigger the caption, the more attention you're gonna get on your reel.
Why are we utilizing these?
Yeah, it's pretty
tactics
good.
in our-
Want some?
in the
I know.
podcast?
Why aren't we
It's
doing
sweet.
that?
Yeah,
We're gonna
yeah,
talk about
yeah.
some deep spiritual stuff, and then we're gonna have the caption. This is information about Kevin's
And we
Subaru.
really have. We just need like 3 Apostles' Creeds, and that's it, dude. We're selling.
3 Apostles'
That's all
Creed.
you need.
I really
Every
think we should
version
talk
of the
about his car.
apostle.
Every version of like the Nicene Creed, Apostles' Creed.
We should
all
talk
of them.
about his car, Gabriel's truck. Just have like all the details. This is
Yeah.
what it was before. This is what happened after Gabriel fucked around with that truck.
So what do you
I don't know why we got here.
So what do you guys think about Pope Leo the 14th?
Let's go. Let's
I think Kevin has some things he wants
America. We don't talk about the chat.
to say. About dude, chat is blowing
Yeah.
up.
We don't talk about that chat, but I'm excited for him.
I don't really have a. I don't know.
He's from Chicago.
What do we always say?
Yeah, he's from Chicago. I mean, that's all.
Chicago Bulls.
Did you hear when he announced, like, so he was announcing all the groups of people that were in St. Peter's Square during one of his homilies, and there was a group of people from Dallas, Texas, and he tried to say Dallas, Texas with an Italian accent instead of with his American accent, and, like, he said it, and then he looked up and tried so hard to hold back a laugh as he looked at him.
How'd it sound?
Oh, it sounded Italian, but it also sounded like a guy trying to sound Italian.
Dallas,
sounded-
Texas.
Yes.
It
Yeah.
sounded like kind of Spanish, like Dallas,
Texas. And he, like, looked at him like, I screwed that up.
Yeah.
And then there's another video of him dabbing up a guy as he was walking by him.
Really?
Oh yeah, this Pope is so cool because he's been to World Series games. He's grown up American.
What
So-
what is he? What order is he?
Oh, Augustinian.
Augustinian.
So there's a lot of traditional stuff from there. A lot of traditional. He was head of the Augustinians, if I'm not mistaken.
I'm not too.
You know what?
the
This
thing
is
I
why
like
I
seeing
have
are
my
more like
phone, 'cause
superstitious
I'm the
and kind of
one
like
doing it.
predictions, but I don't know too much about his actual official history and background.
I'm gonna look it
Can
up.
you put the mic a little closer to you, Christian?
This is good.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Now, can you just back up a lot?
Yeah.
Okay.
Kevin, what the hell? Who told you
the TV's not on because no one is
behind the TV?
I mean, I could jump back and forth.
Me too, actually. Kevin, you wanna?
Keep
it the way it was.
Turn it on, so
We can make this a 30-minute podcast.
And then do the original real podcast? Oh,
Let's see if he was. Oh yeah, he was worldwide Augustinian. He was head of the worldwide Augustinian order. So he has
Mr.
experience
Worldwide.
running worldwide organizations. You know.
it's pretty sick. Dude.
He's already come out and a lot of people are like, oh, he sounds like Francis. He sounds like he wants to welcome people. He wants peace and love. Like, well, obviously a Catholic Pope will want that, but it's the way he's already going about it. He's called out what real marriage is, that it's families have a mother and a father. It's a man and a woman.
Mm-hmm.
So he's already starting to track more traditional than Francis was. And I think the biggest sign was when he came out onto the balcony, he was adorned in the full papal robe.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't hold back like Francis did. When Francis came out, he came out in the basic Pope, just
Right.
white and his cross. Pope Leo came out, and he was wearing the traditional
The Pope
papal
drip.
robe. Yeah, everything, dude. It looked sick. And he had the papal cross. It was actually the cross. It had a fragment.
Oh wait,
There, you saw
relic?
that too. It had a relic in there from. Was it?
I forget what it
Was
was.
it the
though.
first Leo? It might have been the first Leo.
If it,
but
not,
he,
if it wasn't the first one, it had to be like the 13th. Right?
It was already something like
I don't remember.
super traditional. He was already starting to show he was going to be a more traditional pope.
Yeah.
I heard. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just to say that I've heard a lot of like controversy with Pope Francis and that aspect that he was sharing right now, because a lot of people highlight how, like, especially with this new Pope, how he's doing all these things the way that the Pope, I guess the papal traditions of like wearing the full, I forgot what it's called, and then like him actually moving into the, because did he open the door to his where he stays? Where
Leo did, yeah.
Yeah, Leo.
moved
Francis
back
had his
in.
own apartment. He had
Yeah.
a separate apartment that was very, very small, very ordinary.
Very
nothing-
secluded.
Yeah, very secluded, exactly. And it was, I think it was Michael Knowles actually, who was like, he says like, people say it's really humble of him, but I don't see it as that. I see it
Humble of Francis or humble of?
Francis for
Okay.
doing all these things of like, oh, I don't want to wear the traditional papal guards. I want to wear something a little bit less. I don't want to sleep in the
Papal
people. I forget
building,
what it's
condo.
called. I would rather do a small, apartments. Little very small quarters.
Yeah.
People say like, oh, that just shows how humble he is. But Michael Knowles was like, I think it's some form of like, false humility. I'm probably butchering what he actually said, but he was saying like, because if you're the Pope, you gotta just deny yourself and take up that title of Pope.
Yeah.
You gotta do what the Pope does. You gotta wear what the Pope is supposed to wear, stay where the Pope is supposed to wear, instead of going outside of everyone else's way to do these quote unquote humble things. And it got me thinking. I wanted to ask you guys what you guys think about that. How do you guys feel about that?
Go ahead.
I actually like how that goes, because here's the deal. With when I took my political science class at American Community, they described the presidency as like a white T-shirt, and so every time a new president came in, they would take the white T-shirt and stretch it or shrink it to make it fit them, but it was the same white T-shirt. The seat of Peter is not supposed to be like that. What just happened? Anyways, the seat of Peter is
Just
not.
one?
Yeah, just one went out. I don't know what that is, but the seat of Peter is not supposed to be.
I don't have headphones. So I don't know what's going on.
The left earpiece went off.
Left earpiece.
Yeah, you can stay.
No, I'm looking for my phone.
But the left ear, the papal seat is not supposed to change. It's supposed to stay the same, regardless of who is the Pope. It stays the same. I feel like Francis kind of tried to make it like, oh, I'm Pope, I'm gonna do it this way, when it's not supposed to be done a certain way. You're the Pope. You know what I'm saying? So there was that. So, but I don't think Pope Francis deserves as much hate as he gets when it comes to how he approached the papacy, because in the end he wasn't a heretic. He never was a heretic, and I don't think he hurt the Catholic faith as much as people say, but I think his biggest downfall was not being able to speak English, because a lot of the English media was able to take and twist and turn his words and translate it to what fit their motive instead of what he was actually trying to communicate.
Yeah. I asked Father Larry when he was here. I'm like, how should we feel about the Pope? If you guys saw episode 20, if you haven't seen it, watch. You're probably gonna watch that one before you watch this one. Anyways.
Hopefully.
Yeah. I think what he said was like, he's the Holy Father and we need to be reverent to him and definitely give him our prayers, if I remember. But I've always kind of felt kind of indifferent about popes. That might be bad, It wasn't until recently with Pope Francis that I started to pray for the popes, have more intentions, and other clergy. Because I heard somewhere that, the strength of our clergy depends on the prayers of the people. So if I at least according to Father Ripperger, and correct me in the comments if I'm wrong, the reason that exorcisms are taking so long to occur, it's because the spiritual life of the church, we're not praying enough. If we were praying as deeply as we should and praying for the clergy,
Yeah.
it would be a completely different ball game. So, like, when there was that mix-up with Pope Francis, honestly, I would just correct him of, like, yeah, I mean, he can say whatever his opinions are, but this is the actual teaching of the church. And someone's opinion, even the popes, won't change the teachings of the church.
I think that was blatantly obvious when they asked, like, hey, it was 60 Minutes, when they asked him, will women ever, like, have a bigger role in the church, where they be priests or deacons? And his answer was just no. Like, that was an example of him not being heretical. He was going to stand on church teachings. He was always going to stand. And when he clarified that we're not going to bless homosexual unions, we could bless the person. That's what we're supposed to do. That's what they're supposed to do as priests. They can't deny a blessing to a person. They can deny a blessing to a union. They can deny a blessing to an object if that object isn't working in some way to get you closer to heaven. But yeah, it's pretty interesting how I just feel so bad that he didn't have a translator actively working to help him, so that way his words weren't twisted as much as they are, And with Pope Leo, we're not gonna have that problem. He's fluent in English. That's what he grew up speaking, and he speaks Italian and Latin very well. He celebrates the traditional Latin Mass, so we have a lot more tradition going into this, and I think it's gonna be cool. I think the first American Pope, that's a big deal. He was offering to host negotiation talks between Ukraine and Russia.
Oh, that's right.
Because Trump didn't visit him, not yet, but Vance did, and Vance brought it up. And when they were there, the Pope offered. He's like, "Hey, I'll host the negotiation talks. I want you guys to get peace. So if that means coming here to the Vatican and having those discussions here, that's what I'll do, because I want peace. That's what I want." That's the type of Pope we need, who's inserting himself into these things in a way that's like, look, I don't care about sides. I just want peace. That's what he needs to do. And that was an amazing, I don't know how to say this, but initiative for him to take was offering the Vatican as a place.
If I'm not mistaken, the Vatican is considered like neutral ground, is it not?
I know it's a sovereign state, so it's not part of Italy. It's its own country.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's like technically ruled as neutral. Like you're talking like Switzerland. Switzerland's always neutral. That's why they have the Geneva Conventions and stuff like that, because it's in Switzerland. They've never picked sides in the wars. They pretty much like, you agree, you keep Switzerland out of it.
Oh, okay. Yeah, because in history, the Catholic Church was on sides of certain wars, wasn't it?
I don't know if you count the only wars I know the Vatican took part of was the Crusades.
Oh, okay.
I could check, but I know, and the Crusades were to reclaim Christian territory that was violently taken from us.
Right. You think we'll ever do that again?
We should.
If we were to do it
Damn.
now, I mean, what would it look like?
We go back and
Well, the Vatican needs to start building a military.
We do. Switch guard, man.
What are
The Swiss
Knights of
guard is
Columbus?
legit.
Well,
Get
what are
closer to
That'd
the
be
mic.
crazy.
What are the Knights of Columbus role right now? I mean,
They're
Knights
not
of
actually
Columbus.
knights.
they're not actually like defensive
fundraisers.
Their sword drill sucks.
They're what?
What did you say?
Say that in the mic.
The sword drill needs to be worked on.
Tell us about it, Kevin. Tell us about it.
He's
about it.
volunteering to
Explain all
teach
that.
us about the sword drill.
Kevin, God is calling you to join the Knights of Columbus so you can drill them correctly.
Kevin's like, they need AR-15s, dude. That's his first step right there.
Oh, here it is, right here.
The Seals of Columbus.
No, Vatican City has never been at war since its establishment in 1929 as a neutral, independent state. It has maintained a policy of neutrality in all conflicts, including World War II, though it was bombed twice during that time. The Lateran Treaty with Italy formalized this neutrality. So it stays out of it.
Oh.
It just stays out of wars.
It's a neutral place for negotiations.
You gotta
Like-
get used to that.
That's where they take like all the treaties.
I don't. Usually it's Switzerland. Usually when they negotiate, they go to Switzerland. That's the commonplace. So for Pope Leo to step up and say, "No, come to the Vatican. Let the Vatican be an active part of this. We're supposed to represent peace and love. Why aren't we doing this more often?" That's a big deal. That's pretty cool. And people will hate on it and say, "Well, why is Trump and Vance there?" Trump and Vance are just trying to get peace too. I'm not saying they're perfect, but they want peace. Is there other motives? Maybe. I'm not gonna say there isn't, but
I mean, did you see the post that I think it was like either yesterday or the day before, but he made a post saying, basically explaining everything you're talking about, of everyone meeting at Vatican to just,
Yep.
he name dropped a lot of leaders of different countries, and then he said that they were just going to all meet. He did mention his motivations for having a trade deal. I think it was with,
yeah.
I forgot who it was. I want to say Ukraine, but I think I'm wrong. But he did, he lays out his motives. He's not, does he not say everything? Sometimes.
He does
But
say everything.
he does say a lot. I'll tell you that. I mean, no one can really deny that. So, I mean, I think it's really promising. If it's like a common thing for people to meet at Vatican City to discuss things like that, I mean, I think it's a lot better to discuss stuff than just go to war. So,
Doesn't that make sense though? Like
that's my take
the
on
Catholic
it.
Church is supposed to be about peace. Our Savior literally said, "I come in peace." Our founder. Why wouldn't we be more involved in peace?
Did he really say, "I come in peace," or "Peace I give you"?
Peace, it's like
Peace
peace
and
be with
unity.
you. There you go.
Yeah, peace be with you.
I come in peace. That's someone else. What is that?
Aliens.
There.
How strong is that
I
beer, buddy?
apologize. Not strong enough.
I'm
Apparently,
saying,
I think
come
I should
on.
remember the
It's
Bible.
80 proof.
Damn. I don't need another one. No. So yeah, What about you? What do you actively think about Pope Leo? Like,
I
genuinely.
have zero opinions.
That's cap.
No, for real. I'm not neutral.
So you heard we have an American Pope,
look,
and you were like, I
this
don't
is-
care.
Basically.
That's wild.
Well, you actually started this whole conversation saying that he wasn't really matching everyone else's kind of like reaction to it. So I kind of want to ask you, like, what is your stance as of right now about the Pope in general?
I'm glad we have him, and I do believe we need him. Do I understand it fully? No, but our faith teaches he's the vicar of Peter, and he deserves to be venerated and respected, and 100% I do. But when I look for answers, I don't really see what the Pope says. I see what the Catechism says or Scripture says, and I guess that's why. But definitely, he is a representation of the Church of Christ, of everything that we stand for. So it does kind of, I guess, upset me when popes get taken out of context, but not to the point where I'm like, pissed off about it. It's just like, I just got to have this conversation and clear things up with this individual. But yeah, and I don't know if that's right or wrong. I do know that I started praying for him like a year ago, more or less. But yeah.
Would you say you felt that way before Francis, or was it just because? Would you say Pope Francis's tenure kind of led you towards that stance on the papacy?
Well, before Francis, it was Benedict, and I didn't care either. Before Benedict, it was JP2, and I just remember everybody was sad in the picture of him and Mother Teresa. And even now, like when I was in Theology of the Body, JP2 is the founder, but I see him more as a saint, John Paul II instead, or John Paul the Great, instead of Pope. He was Pope, I just see, I don't know.
That's interesting.
Yeah,
I have a real Kobe mindset in this. It's too early to celebrate. Like, I don't know. For me, it's like, job's not done.
You want to see what he's like.
It's too early to celebrate. Like,
maybe in a year. Yeah.
Like, who knows? Maybe in a year, he's like ends up being like. No, I'm not saying he's gonna be the worst, but like, what if he's like controversial? Like, just too early to celebrate. That's what I think.
Yeah, I agree with that too, and I like what Diego said, especially with the example of JP2. Like looking when you think of JP2, you don't think of when he just got like elected. You think of Theology of the Body, which he left us. You think of him starting World Youth Day, his accomplishments. Yeah. So I think that's where we're kind of like. I think you share a lot of mentality of a lot of Catholics too, that they're just kind of like waiting to see like, all right, do your thing, kind of thing. Like, come on, let's see what you got. You're like, come on, do something, because it's definitely with the Pope's actions and what he says and what he does. And what he leaves the next pope, with,
Yeah, one thing that I heard, and I think it's very true because it reflects in our parish and the Oblates of St. Joseph. It says you get the priest that you pray for. So, like, same with the Pope and everything else. And what do we do in every single Mass? We give a vocation cross to pray for those in the clergy and for those to come in to the clergy.
I think that's
and even for families, how many big families are we having? More and more people are being open to having big families.
Yeah. I think that's interesting what you said, how we get the priest we pray for. If you think about it, when we had this conclave, right, when we were told pray for the Pope, right, pray for who we get as Pope. Who do you think was praying more, the traditionalist or the modernist in terms of Catholics? I feel like the traditionalists were probably the ones praying more or actively doing acts of like corporal works of mercy, like, cold showers or not eating meat or fasting and stuff like that. Those traditionalists were probably doing a little bit more. Maybe, and again, this is total speculation, but maybe because the traditionalists were the ones praying more, that could be the Pope we get. And I know, again, like you said, too early. Why are we celebrating so early? But, man, it's an American Pope, dude. Like, that's cool.
I'm glad you brought that up because that's another thing that I don't really care for either anymore. Whether it's traditional or non-traditional, because there are both good and bad people on each side of the traditional spectrum and the non-traditional spectrum. What I notice is a lot of people that are very traditional, they struggle with scrupulosity, and a lot of people that aren't so traditional struggle more with not indifference, but like not seeing things as serious as they are. But I'm pretty sure that there's people that are not traditional that take the faith extremely seriously.
Maybe, but the thing we have to watch out for, when we start to lean into that modernist sect, they're the ones that are more likely to try and change the church and adapt it to current situations. That's the identity of a modernist, right? They want things to be modern. So when they look at the church, they're like, oh, well, how can this be modern? The church was never meant to be modern. It was never meant to be new and refurbished with what society was telling it. It was meant to stick the way it is. That's why it's worked for so long. It's because it sticks to its guns.
It's
It doesn't change.
keepers of tradition.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's at least how I feel when a lot of, especially working like, not working. I mean, it just feel like work, but being like a big part of ministry. You do hear the question being about like, how do we get these kids on fire for God? And a lot of the discussion becomes like, well, how do we make it approachable? You know. And what I hear is like, how do we make God like look cool to the kids? It almost seems like we're kind of like, all right, what should we have them like? Kind of like playing dress up, like, all right, maybe if we dress them up like this way, the people will be attracted. Maybe if we stop doing that, kids will be more. Because there was a recent discussion that we had. We're thinking of doing like a big change in one of the youth groups because of the kids and the people that attended the youth group, and we're just kind of going to see like, well, will this draw them closer, or are they right now in a state of like, oh, I don't really want to interact because I don't feel welcome, I don't feel comfortable with the things that we're doing at this youth group. And I do think it's kind of like it's important to discuss it and talk about it, but I do really would rather focus more on like, how do we have these kids understand why these serious moments that aren't always fun, aren't always like things that we're comfortable with, why are they important just the way that they are?
I think the mistake, in my opinion, when it comes to youth groups, is that we're trying to entertain them instead of educate them.
I would agree with that.
Because in youth groups, if you're giving them real information that's practical and they can practice in their life, or that cuts deep into their soul, that will attract them more than any band will ever attract them, than any games will ever attract them, even though that's all I did in our first confirmation year. Yeah, here he is. I got one. No, I'm kidding. There's a couple. But, yeah, and then the other thing about Go ahead, Alex. Come in. The other thing I wanted to mention, what were you saying about traditionalists? Your last thought on that?
Oh, I was just there's the two sides, right? And the modernists want to bring the church up to modernity, and that's what we have to be careful for.
Yeah, and I guess
because I do see what you mean about traditionalists can sometimes be scrupulous was the word you used, right?
Can you explain what that means? 'Cause
Scrupulosity?
I'm dumb.
Sometimes they look at themselves and think of themselves as higher than others.
Oh, like arrogance.
no. From what I understand, scrupulosity is that you're hung up on your sins more than God's mercy.
Okay, there's that too. I see in my experience with traditionalists is sometimes they think they're better than other people because they're so traditional with the faith. And that's where you have to look at it. And I think the common ground is you have to hold to the church's traditions, but you can't do it in a way that completely removes yourself from the world.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you're not able to do the missionary work we're called to do.
Yeah.
You can't be the evangelist if you're over here being completely different from everybody else.
Yeah, when I had Brother Victor on, he said something in the lines of, well, it also depends where you're coming from, because in Africa, that their tradition is to dance in mass, you know? So culture also takes a big part in it. And you've been to World Youth Days, you've seen other masses in different countries. So, I mean, everything's celebrated just slightly different, more towards... Just go to Mexico. And my mom went to Mexico last year, and in the altar, there was a dog. Just hanging out there.
In the altar?
On the altar. There was a dog.
On top of the altar?
That's
Yeah.
low-key.
Yeah.
That's sacrilegious, though.
Yeah, it's extremely disrespectful and everything. But once again, and ooh, that sounded bad. Sorry. And not to talk bad on any priest. We need to continue to pray for them. But apparently that priest doesn't like being in his habit. He likes being more in regular clothes when he's outside. And I'm guessing just missing opportunities to connect, you know? So it definitely depends on their community. And
Yes.
But whether you're traditionalist or not, I mean, I'm pretty sure that there's saints that weren't traditional, you know?
So, to go off of what you said about Africa, right? Because it's true. You have to... God never wanted us to take away the culture of the people unless it was completely against the faith, right? He wanted the culture to be in some way used to, I guess, worship him. The culture to be adapted in a way that would worship him. That's why he never took away everything from Mexican culture, right? He's still okay. That's why he had his mother appear on Tilma. That's why all of the imagery on her is tied to Aztec culture. So when you look at Africa, Cardinal Sarah actually made a very good point about the dancing at the liturgy. And he says, dancing is a part of a culture. We can't take that out. If we get rid of that, then we don't feel like we're actually worshiping anymore. but we could not make it to where it's disrespectful to the liturgy. So that's why they don't dance during the liturgy. They dance before on the entrance, and then they dance again during the exit. Well, those are two parts that aren't technically part of the liturgy. The liturgy begins when he makes the sign of the cross at the beginning, and ends when he says, "Go in peace." So they make sure that they still respect the actual mass itself. And that right there is where some cultures mess up. We went to Santa Ynez, and they were doing a gospel reading. And in the middle of the gospel reading, I'm not saying during the Alleluia, I'm not saying after, middle of the gospel reading, like between paragraphs, they had a mariachi start singing a song. You can't do that.
Really?
Yes, I'm dead serious. It was like in the middle of the mariachi. And I was like, my family looked at each other and we felt like this is disrespectful. Even the priest kind of felt off by it. It kind of looked like that. And so that's the type of stuff where you can't let your culture alter the liturgy. So you need to check it out the door to some degree. Culture doesn't have to disappear, but it also shouldn't be the liturgy bound to your culture. And that's kind of where modernists start to go, right? That's why traditionalists, they're like, no culture at all, Latin Mass. Because then you don't have to worry about disrespecting the liturgy, right? With TLM, there's no need to worry about disrespect. It's the same everywhere, and it's in one language.
I definitely do like the traditional Latin Mass. I like the reverence. I like that people are encouraged to dress up a lot more. And my favorite thing about it is receiving the Eucharist on the tongue while kneeling. I think that is the most beautiful part of it.
We need to bring that back.
Like, I'll be honest, I'll have those thoughts of, like, when people receive on the hand, like, oh, come on, man, that's Christ. Like, you be a lot more reverent. But I don't know their current relationship with Christ. It's not my place to be like, hey, stop that, you know? Or maybe it is, I don't know. But I feel like I'm just glad that they're in a state of grace and receiving at the end of the day, you know?
Did you see the Instagram reel where it was the funeral mass for Pope Francis, right? And all of the priests that served it were much younger priests, like fresh out of seminary, maybe 1-2 years in. And they were giving the Eucharist, and they did not accept the hands at all. So if a person went up with their hands, no, it's going, you're receiving it on the tongue. And they were just making, it wasn't even like disrespectful. It was just, they were going and you received it on your tongue. You didn't get a chance to use your hands. And just, it's cool to see that the priests are starting to be like, this is the way it's supposed to go. The hands were never meant to be a common thing. They were for extreme circumstances. That Black Plague was when it came back because they didn't want contact with the mouth because of the spreading of the virus. So they put it on the hands. That's where it started, and it just continued from there. They even at one point when they were trying to give it on the hands, they would put a cloth over your hands, so that way there was no remnants of the Eucharist on your hands. It was just the remnants on the cloth. They tried to make it that reverent, and they realized that wouldn't work either because now you're moving the cloth and you're dropping the remnants. So the hands were it was never meant to be a long-term common thing. It was never meant to be the norm. It was meant to be the exception, and now it's the norm. But we are slowly seeing that shift back to people receiving on the tongue, which is, it's the safer way. It's the better way. It is the better way. Like, there's no, you can't really disagree with that.
It's the most reverent way.
Yes, it is.
Yeah. A similar change that I've seen in my lifetime was the sign of peace.
Yeah.
Before 2020, everyone was shaking hands. We'd shake hands. We'd extend hands, handshakes. As soon as COVID hit, and to this day, just gentle bows, peace signs.
That's gone away though too. Less people are doing that now.
Yeah.
Less people are doing the peace sign. They're
just-
more like
I
bow.
don't like the peace sign.
Yeah.
Well, in Greece, what is that? That's flipping someone off.
Is it really?
To all our Greek fans. No, I'm just kidding.
To all the Greek fans out there.
And we lost that one.
None of them.
But yeah, I do. That's a good point you brought up.
Did you guys ever hear Jim Gaffigan's joke on the sign of the peace?
No, I want to know. Well, he's Catholic.
He's all like, when you're doing the sign of peace to people and you see someone attractive, you're like an extra piece to you.
Was it she held my hand during the Our Father? So I guess it's getting pretty serious. I stopped doing that too. Did you notice less people are holding hands during the Our Father? Like that's kind of gone away.
It's in the Spanish mass is a lot more common though.
And see, that's the thing.
And it's culturally.
It is a culture thing, and that's where we have to be careful because a lot of times, one thing they do is the what is it? The orem posture where they lift their hands up with the priest. Like, bro, you're not a priest. Put your hands down.
Yeah, Father Gustavo scarred me for life with that one. He was
Good
like,
old Father
we
Gustavo.
don't do that. We don't do that, guys. It's the only priestly thing. I was like,
Yeah.
okay, I got that now.
It was nice, yeah.
He was great.
my dad, well, because my dad went to Spanish mass growing up, and so like that was a hard thing for him to break, and now he doesn't do it. But like for him, it was like, whoa, this is what I did. This is what I grew up doing.
Mm-hmm.
It's a culture thing, right? And so for him to break that was literally him changing the culture he grew up in.
As soon as Father Gustavo tells me something's wrong, I stop doing it immediately.
That's
I don't even question it. I'm like, I've been wrong this whole time.
Yup.
Yeah,
I don't
like,
even
that's
question it.
Do you guys ever gone to confession with Father Gustavo? Were you there when he was doing that thing where he would interview you? Like, you say all your sins, and he's like, well, did you pray every day? Yes, Father. Did you miss Mass? No, Father. Are you sure? Yes, Father. He's checking you for extra sins. I'm like, gosh, dang, this is the... I should have opened the curtain like, you see me, you know me, like... You probably actually... No, that's not a good... That's not,
like, whoa,
never mind. No, you don't want to know me.
prideful son.
Close that thing. Like, you just heard all of my sins. Never mind.
What were you confessing, Alex?
That's the problem. I think that's the problem. Like, you know what? Never mind. Close that curtain. I don't want you to know me. I don't want you to know that's what
I
I
had
said.
a face-to-face when... Remember that retreat we did in Bakersfield?
The immediate laugh.
Yeah.
What was
Okay,
that?
aside from that, the serious part, I had a
Back to that.
face-to-face confession with Father Gustavo.
Oh man.
And it was a moment since I've seen him like face to face. He was like, "Oh, how are you? Like, how you been?" Like, I'm doing good. And then the moment like the confession started, he like immediately locked in. He was like, "Okay, so now we're." I'm like, I had to readjust myself in my seat. I had to like prepare myself. I was like, "Yeah, this is the
It's
real
serious.
deal." Yeah.
It really is.
Yeah. It's funny when the priest knows you and you go to confession. Because, like, it was Father Shear. Went to him a couple times for confession. And finally one day he's like, you know what? I'm going to... I love you, but I got to turn up the heat a little bit. Your penance is this now. I'm like, gosh, dang, dude. Like, you don't hold back. He's like, yeah, I know who you are. So I was like,
He's a price
He
went
has
up.
high standards, high expectations
He
for
does.
you. Yeah.
For the people he knows, he's one of the only priests to call me out on how I served at Mass because I cantor and stuff. And so one time I finished cantoring the Mass and we're in the back. I'm taking off my alp so I can get going, go to work. And he's like, hey, Alex, I need to talk to you for a second. And I'm like, okay. And he doesn't pull me aside or anything in front of everybody. You need to be louder when you sing, dude. Like, why are you being so quiet? Why weren't you up on the mic? I like immediately was like, oh man. And it wasn't off morning. I could tell. I was like, I'm not sounding how I should. And he's like, just do better next time. And I was like, okay, Father, I will. And you never take it personal. Like, that's the thing with him. I don't take it personal. But I appreciated him calling me out, honestly. It was refreshing for a priest to actually be comfortable enough to say, hey, like, what are you doing, dude? Like, we know you do better.
I always tell people, I'm like,
Wow.
This guy.
Rookie mistake.
okay,
No,
turn off the cameras. Let's
Cameras
restart.
off, cameras off, cameras off, starting.
No, I always tell people, like, they always take our Giga Chad priests, dude. They always take them.
They do.
They always take
Hold up,
them.
that's true.
I'm like, Father Gustavo, the GOAT, they took him. They took Father Shear, they took him. And
Father Saji.
yeah.
All of them.
Well, but Father Stevens. Fine,
Yeah.
I
But
Father
like,
Stevens.
there's just like some priests that are just immediate like Giga Chads, and they're just like,
So I think something cool about Father Shear and Father Stephen, I got to see them a lot interact with each other a lot because they would serve masses together for like the big masses, and it was so fun watching because they acted just like brothers. Like Father Stephen was the little brother, Father John Shear was the older brother, and like Father John Shear would say something, and Father Stephen's like. Like nudging him and laughing about it, and Father Shear would look at him and try to stay serious, but then he'd chuckle too, and it was so funny to see that interaction because it's like, okay, they're guys too, they're guys that aren't that much older than us, so they have the same sense of humor to some degree.
Not much older than me.
What do you mean?
No, I'm the same age as Father
You get
Stephen.
it. You want to go to seminary.
Get it? You want to go and join them?
So I was
Get it,
thinking
you're
about.
old.
I've been praying about going to the seminary.
Immediately, no more women.
Dude,
in
I'm
this
probably
chat.
not even gonna go. Watch.
We're gonna hold him to it when he's finally able to.
One thing that I like about having so many priests in our parish, first of all, it's a blessing. Secondly, it's depending on my sin or how I feel about myself, I know who to confess with. Like,
Yeah.
there's one that if I feel like, man, I really need God's mercy, I'll go with him. There's two that like, man, I'm in a rush. Well, there's one, I'm in a rush and I gotta go.
We all know who it is.
All right, where's, I got my fast.
There's
pass.
one
Let's
that is
go.
just like, all right, I need to be schooled, and I go with him.
Yep.
And then there's one that doesn't know me, so I'm like, when I do my worst things, I'll go.
Yeah. You're like, I
But
know.
maybe I need to stop being such a coward and just go with one priest, and that way it's
It's a development.
consistent. Yeah.
I actually appreciate going to confession out of my parish now, only because I don't want to feel like, and this is kind of bad because technically the priest is supposed to be acting in the person of Christ, right? But I don't want to feel like I'm confessing to a friend. I kind of want that, like, hey, I'm a priest. I have more authority, you know?
Hey,
'Cause he's
Alex.
supposed to be
I mean, you can confess to us right now.
No.
Okay.
But I went to a priest in OLPH, right? And it was so cool because I'm like, dude, I don't know this guy. I could do face-to-face confession. He ain't going to know anything, you know? And he was able to give me the truest, like, advice. Like, it was exactly what I needed to hear. And I could not believe it. I'm like, dude, maybe I should make you my spiritual advisor. But I haven't gotten that far yet. I haven't done that.
Christian, you remember during Christian's, I don't know if I talked to you about it, during Christian's wedding, I was like, yeah, Christian's been saying some stuff about this church, about how, like, they're kind of like,
Oh yeah, he shared some stories about for May the 4th, the lectors dressed up as Star Wars characters, and he was telling us
What?
So he was telling us for May the 4th, which is Star Wars Day for those of you guys who don't know. One of the lectors was dressed up as Princess Leia, like full side buns, full get up, like the white dress with the slit down the leg, and she was reading the readings, and I think did he say that the priest at the end of mass said, "May the Force be with you"?
I think so.
I think yeah.
I think so.
So
And with your spirit.
yeah, and everyone responds, yeah, exactly. But yeah,
Remember what I said about modernists?
But what I was talking about was, it's kind of weird because I confessed with Christian, Christina, and Andy, and that was the first time I ever got, like, a rosary as a penance.
really,
Which is kind of weird. That's why I was like, oh man, this is like an actual penance compared to
actual tortures.
compared to like here in Madeira. Like, I mean, I don't know. I don't really get too bad of a punishment here.
I wonder
Not
about-
punishment, but like,
I got told a corporal act of mercy. Like, I had to do something that was suffering. And I was like, oh, gosh. He's like, yeah, you go deal with it. I was like, whoa.
Yeah,
which is weird. I mean, I thought that was weird.
it's interesting, right? Because I mean, I guess it's just on their perspective of things. I guess they're like, hey, we like to do things a little wacky sometimes here and there, and then they have that kind of stuff. But my stance is, if it's taken away from the mass, maybe think twice about doing it.
Yeah.
I'm sure, yeah, because Christian was mentioning a lot about how it was more like, I don't know. I forgot what I was going to say,
Yeah,
but
he basically summed it up to, like, they're more, I guess, to go on your terms, modern in a sense, that they would just not be. He wouldn't classify them as trad at all. They're a little bit more modern. But I mean,
I guess what I say, like what I think about like traditional and non-traditional, like Novus Order, I think it's still fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean it's because right now we have what every third or fourth week.
It's every second and fourth, isn't it? They
maybe.
picked up another one.
Oh, good.
I think.
But it's a Novus Order Latin Mass, right?
Yeah, it's Novus Ordo, but it's done with Latin
but it's
hymns.
1 hour long.
Yeah. It's not 1 hour long.
It's not 1 hour long.
Is it?
It is.
Novus Ordo,
Why did I just think right now that Mass is 30 minutes?
because daily mass.
Because I'm
'Cause
really
Father James
invested in
and
it.
it's-
Father James is your
Father James.
go-to,
And
and
it's the morning mass.
he does mass in 40 minutes.
Top record.
Nah.
Top record. I was gonna ask you guys, unless you had something else you wanted to add on to the.
Well, real quick,
Oh, go
the
ahead.
funny thing about the penance, so my friend and I went to the same priest for confession, and when he came out and he was like, hey, bro, this priest is rough. I'm like, why? He told me how to do an hour of Our Fathers. I was like, whoa, no way. And I go to confession, and the priest gives me a similar penance where he's like, I need you to say 4 Our Fathers. And I get out, and I'm like, my friend thinks he said 1 hour of fathers, right?
Oh.
But he said, say 1 hour father. And I was like, my friend was sitting there with a timer on his watch, like, Our Father, just saying Our Father, just trying to get the hour. I could not believe the miscommunication was hilarious.
That's funny. Yeah. Yeah.
I've had to remind priests like, what's my penance?
Yeah.
Like I'm already out. Like what's my penance? Like it'll be nice, but it doesn't feel complete without the penance.
No, it has to be something. Yeah.
You were gonna say something, Christian?
You had a question. You
now
were
I have
asking.
a question based on what you said. Do they always have to give you a specific penance?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they do for reparation
Yeah.
for our sins.
But it's interesting because I've had it sometimes. I've walked out of there without a penance, and I just assumed that okay, I remember, but since I told them, let me go make my own reparations.
Yeah.
Talk to the people that I've hurt or harmed or did some type of act that would contradict the habits that I was in. But And that was only when they did not provide a penance. If they gave me a penance, I would do the penance right there after a confession, in the church. But, I think you're right. I think we are supposed to get a penance. I just never reminded them because I don't know. It's a priest versus me, so I'm like, okay, if you don't give me a penance, I guess that's it. I'll figure it out on my own, Father.
That's on you. It's a freebie.
It's on me as a freebie, yeah.
The confessor has the soul.
We got Alex fact checking. Kevin, the question.
I don't know if y'all ever had this feeling, but like you receive a penance and you're like, that's it. Like,
Yes.
for me, it's like, no, I'm gonna add on to that. I don't know how, like, is there like a rule?
There's.
Oh, okay.
Hold on.
Real quick, can I share what I found?
Yes, please.
So they're supposed to give a penance, but the penance doesn't determine your forgiveness. So you're forgiven and absolved of your sins whether or not they give you a penance. The penance is just how to get rid of that, that stain that we get from sin, and we have to carry on. He's up here, but
out.
yeah. So the thing is, it's at the sole discretion. Otra vez. It's at the sole convention
I
of
just
the.
moved. That's all I did.
It's at the sole. Now I don't have the word. The priest gets to determine whether or not what your penance is. So if they choose not to give you penance, typically that means your act of contrition was your penance. That's what I've noticed. So, yeah. Right. One time though, I had a priest and he said the absolution, but he used different words.
Really?
So the absolution did not sound like the usual absolution. It's still on the left, and I was trying to figure out dude, did that confession count? I was
Interesting.
so worried. And
Yeah. No, I'd be concerned too, just based off the stories I've heard about certain baptisms at a certain church not being valid because they used the wrong words or they didn't say something right, and yeah, I would be skeptical in that case too if you. But I don't know. I would probably ask another priest afterwards. Hey,
I did.
Oh, you did? What did he say?
He said confess again.
Oh,
But he's like you're fine. He's like, there it is. He was like, you're fine. That's not your fault. So you're forgiven. Just next time you go to confession, say it the right. Make sure you go to a priest that says it the right way. And I was like, okay.
He was like, back in line, back into our line.
That was why I was kind of worried. It wasn't at our church. This priest said it at a different church, and I was like, if he's saying this for everyone and it's not valid for everyone, there's 20 people here.
And an hour of confession time? Oh.
I know, for real, man.
It better be forgiven, man. That's my penance right there, sitting in the chair. No, that's prideful. I'm sorry.
Have you guys heard what's happening in Washington about the new they're trying to pass a law that is asking for the priest to break the seal?
Yeah, they tried that in
Confidentiality.
California. We talked about that one
We
time.
did talk about that with
We did.
Who was it? It was you.
It was me.
Yeah.
It was me.
They
They
do
tried to pass a law where priests would have to report a crime that they heard in the confessional.
But I believe in Washington it's only for 2 crimes: murder and child abuse.
The thing is, most of the time, the priest tells the person, hey, part of your penance is you have to turn yourself in.
That's what a lot of people in the comments weren't understanding. There's
Yeah.
a lot of Catholics that are saying first of all, this is bad. Second of all, when this is confessed, the priest tells them to turn themselves in. So there you go. But people are, you can already imagine the comments. Of course, the Catholics would be against child abuse being reported or things like that of that nature. So it was a pretty nasty comment section. But a lot of people were really vocalizing their opinions. And
Well,
what do you guys think about something like that?
common sense. If they keep their curtain closed, you ain't going to know who to report. Most of these churches have a curtain that's permanent,
Mm-hmm.
The only way you could see is if you go around and do a face-to-face. If you stay on the other side of the curtain, the priest ain't going to know who it is, so they can't report anything. So the logic right there is already the priest doesn't know who's doing the crime.
That's true.
Well, these cycles are seeking forgiveness, right? Obviously they're not gonna turn themselves in.
Yeah.
They're looking for some sort of validation of oh, I'm forgiven, what I've done, but
Mm-hmm.
they're not doing their penance of turning themselves in.
Mm-hmm.
I just
Well, to build off that, there's a book called The Secret Cardinal. It was a great book. It's fiction, but they use a lot of the guy did a lot of research into the Catholic Church to figure out
Ooh, realistic fiction.
how it works. Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
And it was about this cardinal that was stuck in China, and he ends up getting elected as pope, but they had to get him out, so they get the military there. But in part of it, there's a priest in the Vatican, and he's hearing confessions, and one of the people that comes to him for a confession is a mafia boss, right? And so he goes into confessional, he's like, forgive me for all the faults. No, I can't do the Italian. It doesn't work, my bad. Someone else.
Don't we have some recordings of us trying to be...
Yeah, we're not going to release those because I sounded horrible.
All right.
But in
edit
other
this
words...
out. I'm going to do it real quick.
Editor, insert the Zootopia scene.
You got to be at the day of my daughter's wedding.
I was like, almost I should just like whisper to you what he said. You can say it into mic.
There you go.
You repeat it after me.
Christian doesn't
He said,
perfect.
"Forgive me,
Christian doesn't
Father,
perfect.
for I have sinned.
Forgive me, Father, for I have sinned.
I killed a man
I killed a man
in cold blood."
Why is it little
in cold blood.
And the priest responded with, "You got to turn yourself in. You've said this sin before."
Gabagoo. I don't know.
But it was cool because like it kind of showed like how the priest isn't gonna turn you in because that's not how confession works, right?
Yeah.
But he's gonna tell you like, dude, I can't forgive you if you're gonna go out and do it again. That's another thing. Having the priest tell you
It's not a
I don't know
valid
if I can-
confession if you don't complete the penance.
Well, not only that, it's the
Right?
priest. What? Yes, but no, you're forgiven. You just have to deal with the consequences later on.
Okay.
So you're more likely to spend a lot of extra time in purgatory. But the real like scary thing is a priest, if he wants to, he could say no. Like if
Oh,
you
yeah,
start
I've
doing
been in that.
yeah,
I
or he's
had a
like,
confession like that before.
same, and I was
Yeah.
like, dude, really? He's like, you got a chance. And I'm like, oh
Really? I have to stop speeding?
oh man, what? I can't text and drive. What?
You can't
It's
kill
not okay.
people anymore?
But the reels, they're so
I can't
great.
drive while I'm texting.
The Honorary Firefighters chat is blowing up. How am I not supposed to look at it? It got the dankest memes here.
Dang, dude.
One thing I wanted to say, Kev, is that we don't we don't know if none of them have turned themselves in. Maybe they have. We can't just jump
Facts.
to that conclusion.
Yeah.
I
Well,
know,
we also need to realize. like,
wasn't the murderer of Saint Therese? No, what's Saint Marie Goretti? Didn't he turn himself in?
yeah, he turned himself in, served his crime, left, became a was it hermit? Hermit or monk? One of
Did
those
he?
two.
I don't think
In seclusion.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
and he was present at her canonization.
Alessandro, right?
Alessandro.
Yeah.
He became some type of religious.
He's blessed right now. I know that.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he flipped, dude. He made a 180, and he contributes it to her intercession. Like, yeah, because she forgave him before she died.
Oh,
Right,
I know which
and-
one you're talking about.
That's what I was saying.
Yeah.
She forgave her abuser, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Abuser and murderer. Yeah,
both.
he was both.
It's crazy.
So I mean,
He didn't get to abuser.
Saint John Paul II, he forgave his attempted murder. Yeah, so it's not uncommon for holy people to
Didn't he
forgive
have
the
like
ones that hurt him.
2 assassination attempts or something?
I know one. I know Trump had two. Not me. Who's keeping track though?
Did he ever? Oh, you have something to say?
Thank you for bringing up Trump. What were your guys'
Always.
thoughts on Trump posing as Pope in the AI picture?
First, he did not pose as Trump.
The AI
Someone
picture.
generated an AI picture of him as Pope. I think it's hilarious, and I think Catholics need to stop acting like they have a stick up their butt in certain things. Was it poor timing? I will say
It was in
timing.
poor taste.
I say poor timing. We're in mourning, right? Like it was literally maybe a week after. Well, how long was the conclave after Pope Francis passed away? A week and a half, 2 weeks?
I believe so.
Yeah, something like that.
was
So it
a
was
week.
like we're still technically in mourning. The Catholic Church is in mourning until the new pope is elected. Pretty much, that's how it works. So I do think it was in poor taste. Like, hey, dude, we're mourning our pope that just died. But you also have to see the humor in it. He was making a joke like, make the Vatican great again. Because what was the controversy the entire time we're talking about getting a new pope was, is this guy going to bring the church back to what it needs to be? You have the side that's saying, is the church going to continue growing modernly, or is it going to go straight back to tradition? So you have these two things. And what is Trump's thing? Bringing America back to tradition. So the joke was, elect Trump to get the Vatican back to tradition kind of thing. That's what the joke was.
What do you think, Christian?
Pretty similar. When I saw it, I was like, then I went to the comments. I was like, oh,
Ugh.
kind of thing. Like, oh, okay, you know what? Makes sense. It's like you wouldn't. I think a comedian made a bit about it. Like, I wonder when was like the first like 9/11 joke.
Get closer to the mic.
That's
you know,
true.
this comedian made a joke. So like, I wonder when like the first 9/11 joke was. Like, I know it wasn't 9/12. Like, I know that. I know that. But like, when was it? Was it? Was it? Yeah.
That's crazy.
Like, so like there is like a thing where like too soon is too soon. You know.
Yeah.
In this case, I would say since the church is in mourning and a lot of people are aware of that, it could be found in poor taste. Personally, I mean, should Trump have done that knowing that? No. Did he know that? maybe not. I mean, people make out Trump to be like this super genius Tony Stark guy, but like he doesn't really think a lot of things before posting. And I know that's not a good like that makes sense. Have a nice day, kind of like end all argument. But I just like okay, well I'm not gonna hate you forever because I'm a Catholic. I don't do that. But at the same time, like maybe think twice before you post something, just to make sure you get out of this kind of turmoil with like a whole religion. Kevin?
I think there's a lot of factors that go into it. Like, we don't even know if he runs the Instagram account.
That is very
Like,
true.
we don't even know like who runs it. Like, I think I like, clicked on it and I was like, the post before it was like, oh, like it was a post about the Pope and he was like, oh, we're grieving. And then the next one was the AI image, and I was like, who runs this account?
Yeah.
Well, here's the thing. He wasn't making fun of Francis. In no way was he poking fun at the guy who died. He never was. He was poking fun at, not even poking fun. He was just poking fun at the idea of him taking the seat, right, of authority.
Mm-hmm.
And it was May 4th. The conclave was 3 days later. You know, it's not like he did it 2
The
days
day
after
of,
Francis
yeah.
died, or if he did it the day of the funeral, that would
Yeah,
be in
yeah.
poor taste.
I mean, he was
But
there
it's-
too.
He
Yeah, he was at the
paid his
funeral.
respects. I mean,
He did.
Yeah.
And so I think he posted it, maybe posted the day the conclave starts, you know? That maybe a little bit better taste. But he's just poking fun at the idea of him becoming the Pope.
Yeah,
You know?
I have a couple cousins that are like more towards the, I don't want to even say liberal. They're just kind of like, I don't know kind of thing. But they're very anti-Trump. So they were posting stuff like, see how disrespectful to all Catholics everywhere. And it was interesting to me because they were extremely offended for this. But I know for a fact, and I'm not judging, but it's just they either don't know much about the faith or they're not practicing it fully. But it was just anti-Trump, and they're like trying to get Catholics to be offended by that. But just to go anti-Trump. That's why, because I commented on one of my cousins. I was like, sorry if you're watching, but thank you for watching. And by the way, thank you to my other cousin who gave me the cigar. It is awesome. I believe it's Dominican Republic. Anyways,
It's Cubano.
Dominican Republic.
Papa Americano.
Yeah, that was the greatest meme, by the way.
Um,
I posted that in the chat. That's what's up.
But I thought it was just funny. I thought it was kind of funny just to see it. Like, I never thought, like, I'm all like, ooh, but that's pretty funny. And it's not because I'm such a huge Trump fan. Like, once again, I'm going to always vote for who goes more towards the teachings of the church.
Yeah.
And if it was Kamala, if she was more leaning towards the teachings of the church, that's who I would have voted for.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I don't think it was so much to be, like, outraged by it. In my opinion.
It wasn't. It's not that serious, you know. I think sometimes what's crazy is sometimes Catholics will laugh at like the pedophile priest jokes. Like, if you're willing to laugh at that and allow that to be poked fun of, but you get mad because Trump posts something about him being Pope 3 days before the election of a Pope starts, you may have priorities messed up. Your sense of humor may be a bit skewed. Take it a little bit lighthearted, you know? If he made fun of Pope Francis, that's a different story. That's where we're like, hey, dude, he just died. Like, let's respect. Like, with Joe Biden, he recently got diagnosed with cancer. And it's very serious cancer. Like, it doesn't look good, you know? And you could go and make jokes about it, but it's in poor taste right now. Like, we just found out this guy has cancer. You don't want someone to go through this. I wouldn't want my worst enemies to go through that, you know? So what is the response? Every Catholic's response should be, we're praying for him. We genuinely want either God to heal him or God to guide him back to be forgiven and reconciled, you know, before his time comes. That's what you want. You don't wish evil on this guy. You never want to wish evil on him. So it's in taste. You know, you gotta watch what you're doing. We can still make Joe Biden jokes. You know, there's some things that are still funny about Joe Biden, but you don't make fun of his diagnosis. That's bad. Even Trump could have poked fun at him. Like, it's super easy to make fun of the guy. But instead he says, I'm very sad about that. It's a very scary diagnosis and we're praying for him. And he said that the day. Now, of course, he went off on a totally under tangent after that. That totally did not relate to Biden at all. But that's typical Trump. He just goes off on different tangents all the time.
Right.
So, yeah, it's just, Catholics sometimes get sensitive about the most ridiculous things.
Did you guys see Bishop Robert Barron's response when he was asked about the?
He chuckled. You know he laughed when he first saw it. You know he laughed when he saw it.
He said it was a joke. But and then the interviewer asked him, "Do you think it was in poor taste?" Like, yeah, I would say it was in poor taste.
Yeah.
But it was a joke.
Yeah.
Like, he acknowledges
Clearly, it was a joke.
Yeah.
Clearly it was a joke.
Anyone who thinks it's anything more than a joke, I would be like, okay, like look at the picture again, and then
Yeah.
you're like, what's going on?
And that's where I think it came from. I don't really think that they're like fully offended. I think it was just a good way to attack Trump.
Yeah, I agree
Um,
with what you were saying about like people taking the opportunity, like, oh wait, I don't like this guy, and he did this thing. Oh, that's
Yeah.
horrible. Let me comment something real quick.
Hey, you're a teacher.
Yeah.
You know how Trump said that they're going to bring prayer back to school? Do you know anything about that?
No, but I do know this. let me speak on something that's very important.
Please
a lot of
do.
people are very upset about Trump cutting education funding from the schools. What a lot of people are I would say too ignorant to understand. The federal government only provides 9% of school funding. 9%. That means 91% comes from state and local taxes. If you can't operate a school on 91% of your funding, you're doing something wrong.
That's true.
You are doing something wrong. So all of these people mad at Trump saying he hates education, he wants his constituents to be stupider. No, you don't need funding for some of this stupid stuff. Respectfully, after-school programs should not be buying PS5s, Xbox Ones, and Switches.
Hey.
They
Hold
should not-
on here.
That's not where the
Hold on
money
here.
should
Just
be going.
because I grab a controller and I start playing on my cut this out. Editor, cut it out.
He was providing tutorials, but that's federal funding. After-school program is federal funding, mostly federal funding, right? And then they have this group of people at. Never mind, I'm not gonna get specific, but they're
Whoa.
specifically meant to deal with behavior, children with very negative behaviors or undesired behaviors is the term we're supposed to use.
Oh wow.
This is purely a federal grant that they get paid with. They're losing their jobs. And I would never wish for people to lose their jobs. That's sad, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I've seen what this does. And it doesn't solve the problem. It puts a Band-Aid on it. Because all it does is it provides like a teacher's aide in the classroom. And they just like, oh, we're only focused on this one kid. We're going to baby him when he starts to act out. We're going to try to control it. That's not solving the problem. Schools are not supposed to deal with behaviors. When did the school system become, oh, we're now teaching kids how to behave and act? When did that happen? That's not what education is.
When they stopped beating the kids?
I was gonna argue when the parents started taking the sides of the kids over the teachers.
It's when the parents stop parenting.
There you go. That too.
It's when a teacher has more time with a kid than their own parents do. I spend 7.5 hours with these kids, and some of these kids only see their parents for 30 minutes a day. That is sad.
Working with kids, I have realized how important it is to be a good parent.
Yes.
Really? Tell
Well,
us a
okay.
little bit more about
I
that.
want you to go on into that because you have a totally different.
Yeah, you're not because you're more of your after school program.
Your after
right?
school program. You're allowed to be more fun,
Yeah.
but you still have behaviors.
I think my point of view from after school program, it turned more into like a daycare type of thing.
Yeah.
Which is fine. I'm like, all right, this is easier for me, I guess. But like some of the kids that act up, I see their parents and I'm like, okay, this is where it starts, I guess. While having a lot of like, there's too much freedom. And Alex was talking about like, oh, they're not allowed to interfere with like behavior, or they don't want to, or what were you saying?
So it's like, you mean with the parents or with the teachers?
Teachers on students and behavior.
So teachers are now we literally have to teach social emotional skills. Like there is a lesson plan we are given to teach social emotional skills. In other words, we're told to teach kids how to behave. I don't remember schools ever being made to teach kids how to behave. We're supposed to teach them how to read, how to write, and how to do math. In the process, eventually they learn science and history, right, as they get farther down the line.
Right.
We're not supposed to teach a kid how to behave. If one kid punches another kid, I'm not supposed to sit here and have a 20-minute discussion with this kid about why it's not okay to punch. Mm-hmm. That's the parent's job. Mm-hmm. And for the parents to come over and tell us, oh, you're not teaching my kid how to act.
That's not my. That's not your.
That's not mine.
Hey, Alex, since we're on topic, Do they discuss your job description at the start of every year?
Yes.
Does it get
Well,
Is there big updates after like every year or before every year starts of your job description? Like, do they try to weave things in there? Kind of like, behavior analyst or kind of like anything? Because I do.
Oh,
from what I remember in high school, I forgot which sub it was, but a sub told me like, oh yeah, it's in our job descriptions now. Like literally in our job descriptions that we have to be analytical of certain behaviors.
yes.
Is that okay? Can you go a little bit more? into
Yeah,
that?
that's part of it now. But that's not, and that's the thing. It's like, okay, well, it's in your job description.
Mhm.
But when and why did teachers become that to children? When did part of our job description become be a parent?
Yeah.
That's the scary part, and that's the part that I don't think anyone pays attention to. Is the teachers are now the parents of the kid. That's the reality of the situation. Is they are now the parents. When they're teaching your kid what to do and what not to do behavior wise, they are parenting your child. I went to a behavior management class, right? Classroom management was a technical term, and they did a study, and it said that the teachers with the best classroom management skills were the ones that acted like parents. And that was a scary statement. Why do we have to act like parents to get kids to behave? The kid should come to us already behaving. Behavior here once in a while. I get
Right.
that.
No,
I get that. Yeah.
Slip ups.
It's a kid. Yeah, of course. Hey, Timmy, parents said not to do that. My parents let me do that at home. That's where the problem is.
That's just an
That's
example.
where the
There's not
problem
a
is.
kid named Timmy.
Oh, yeah. I've never had a student named Timmy. Actually, I never had a student named Timmy.
To go off what you're saying, that like, when was it I mean, looking back, it was kind of woven in
Slowly
into the
creeped in.
schools. Because when I was a kid, I don't know if you guys remember this, we had the colored cards. So whenever you had a behavior, all right, turn your card from green to yellow.
Yes.
Now from yellow to red.
Yeah.
And at a certain color, they would call your parents.
Yes.
No.
That's where we're like, no.
Don't red card me.
No, wait.
But to go off of what Kevin was saying, I guess what I'm kind of piecing it together, and I'm not a parent, so parents can bash me in the comment section.
Yes, you are.
Oh, I am a parent, actually. She is 24 weeks old.
Well, I have a 12-year-old.
In the
Maybe I
womb.
can comment.
But I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, tell me what you guys think about this. I feel like the generation that grew up seeing parenting as trauma is now raising their kids with neglect, but they're labeling it as freedom.
Yes.
Would you guys correlate that? Would you guys agree with that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Or
I don't
Yeah.
know.
Yes.
I showed Mia what trauma was just by watching anime. That every kid in anime goes through some really harsh trauma.
Yeah.
And I'm all like, see, you don't got it that bad. You just got divorced parents. You're fine.
Well, and I think that's the problem is you had a group of parents at some point. Thankfully, I wasn't part of this group, but that were emotionally detached, right? So it was strictly, I'm raising a child, no emotion. That's that, right? Like, deal with your shit, and that's it. And then so these kids end up growing up and they're like, man, I don't want to be like that. I don't want to be no emotionally detached parent. And so they're way overcompensating. And instead, they're like, oh, I'm so sorry you're feeling so bad because I said no to your Cocoa Puffs. Do you want to talk about your feelings right now and tell me what you're discussing in the middle of fucking Save Mart?
while they're yelling on the floor.
While they're
right?
yelling and throwing a tantrum on the floor. It's get up right now. Get up right now, or you are gonna have dinner at 4 and be in bed by 6 every day for the next month, and don't even think about hanging out with friends after school. When did that become neglect? When did that become abuse?
I'll tell you when. Once everyone started having an opinion online.
That's fact.
People's when it came to the topic of parenting, it wasn't parenting. It was trauma. It was strict helicopter parents who'd never let me do anything. When it was actually loving parents who just wanted you home at a certain time.
Exactly.
Why didn't you know where you are? Because they're panicking at home.
Yeah.
I feel like my parents did a really good job of raising me. And whenever I felt like they were hovering over me, they explained to me, like, I'm just worried. I don't know where you are. Like, who are you with? I've never heard that name before. Yeah. And I was like, oh, you know what? That makes sense.
Well, think about it. Yeah. It's not the world they grew up in anymore.
No. So, like, I would let my parents know. Even my friends at the time would be like, dang, it must be tough having strict parents. I'm like, I don't think I don't
No.
ever thought of it as that strict. I just thought of like, okay, they're just being good parents.
Yes.
There's, it's not really necessarily they have a grapple on me. It's more like they're showing care. Kevin,
I want to know what you guys think.
Kevin, hold on, I'll give it to you real quick. But I have to disagree with you, Alex. I think there's still parents out there that do, not necessarily helicopter parents, but
Yes.
they are very attentive to their kids and what they're doing.
Unfortunately, they're in the minority, though. I
Yeah.
think that's where we can agree.
And back then, I'm pretty sure that there was parents that just didn't, I mean, there were serial killers
Yes.
back then too,
Yeah.
and I'm pretty sure someone neglected that.
Yeah. No, I
Absolutely.
totally agree. I don't think every parent is like that. I think that has become the majority now and the status quo instead of what we were raised with, which was good parenting, right? They were not hard on you in a bad way. They were hard on you because they had high expectations,
yeah.
right? And those high expectations allowed the child to rise up to those expectations. As a teacher, I before I was a teacher, I never understood this. But now as a teacher, in my years of teaching, I don't have many, but it's a decent amount now. Children raise to the expectation you set them to. They will raise to any expectation you set before them. If your expectations are dirt low, that's where they're going to stay. If your expectations are sky high, they will raise to that expectation. Because they're adaptive. Kids are adaptive. They're the most adaptable creatures. Think about it. Just take a second. They're literally forming their conscience as they're with you.
They're constantly learning.
Constantly learning at that age. Everything is a social cue. Every little thing. So they're constantly adapting. So your expectations determine how that kid's going to go up. As a parent, now you're the only one among us that has like years of parenting experience. That's where I'm going to catch myself.
Yeah.
What do you see different between like you as a parent now and the other parents in your generation?
I honestly have to give a lot of credit to my baby mama. It's more about like, I feel like with her, she's extremely strict on grades. Like A's, if you get a B, it's okay, but raise that up, It was funny, last week, my parents were both having a conversation with Mia and myself, and they asked me, like, oh, what are her grades? I'm like, she usually gets straight A's. She's like, what? Like, they didn't even, I'm like, you think my kid's dumb? No. But, like, for me, I was always like, man, if you get a C, that's fine. I was a C student, a D student, so I never saw that as a big deal. But I do feel that in my part, I do help more with the social skills. And her mom helps more with the getting your work done skills. That's very apparent that I don't get my work done because these podcasts don't come out fast enough. Shut up. But how do I see it? I feel lucky to have to co-parent with Mia's mom in that aspect, and also because her mom works for I think she's a teacher's assistant or a teacher's aide,
Nice.
and so she also has some high expectations on
Yeah.
that. For me, I'm like, if you don't have F's, that's good because
Yeah.
that's all I had. I had F's, D's, and C's, A on P.
Yeah.
But other than that, yeah. So I just feel like we balanced it out really good.
Now compare that to other parents in your generation.
I don't know because there's some parents that I'm like, man, they're like way better at parenting than me. And then there's other parents where I'm all like, come on, like you're the adult.
So what characteristics would you say determine your feeling of, oh wow, they're a really great parent, or what are you doing? You're the parent.
What are my characters?
What are the characteristics you see that make you come to that
Well,
analysis?
for me, I'm more of the connection, emotional connection, and intellectual connection. So that's what I care about most. Are you a good? I don't care if you get straight A's, but just be a good person.
Yeah.
Or try your best. Have a conscience. Have empathy. But at the same time, once again, kudos to my ex. She gives her the discipline that she needs to get the work done. But Mia is at a point where she's like, she's bored at school because everything seems extremely easy to her.
Whoa.
And I'm like, that's crazy to me because everything was so hard to me. But for other parents, I really don't try to compare. I just really see how Mia is. I do see the importance of comparing.
Yeah.
But at the same, and it's not necessarily like she's better at you at like Mia plays the flute and stuff, I'm all like if she plays it better, it's okay. It's just the flute. Who cares? Same with jujitsu. Like she's in jujitsu. There's kids that are way better than her, but she still goes. She still trains. She still competes.
Yeah.
Like I can't, it's-
No, you can't hate on that at all.
Yeah, Can she do better at everything? 100%.
We can all.
But will it screw up her emotional side of it because she's overly stressed and overly worked? Maybe. I don't know.
I think that depends on the parents. You know, what are you telling her, like, man, if you don't train and you don't focus, you're just gonna suck at this?
No,
Or are
she
you
tells
telling
me
her-
that.
That's what she tells you.
Yeah, she's all like, Dad, I've competed twice. You haven't even competed once.
Let him speak on this because we have a very important announcement.
Coward. That's my only word. Coward.
Coward.
That's crazy.
No, but how many times? Like 9 times out of 10, like martial art kids will never act up.
It depends when the martial arts get to them. Because as someone who
Expand on
taught
that.
martial arts
Yeah.
for, gosh, I started when I was 15 teaching, and I taught till I was 19, 20, full time, and then I switched over and did it like here and there. So I saw easily over 500 to 800 kids go through martial arts, and there were kids who still acted up, and those kids never made it past orange.
Interesting. That's the
Because-
second belt, right?
That's the second belt. That's the
Yep.
second belt. Second or third, depending
I
on
did
like how
karate.
you look at it. Like, if it goes yellow, advanced yellow, orange, then yeah.
Oh, okay.
But some kids, yeah, and the reason is because their parents would like enable their negative behavior. Like they would be fine mostly on the mat. When they got on the mat, they knew the man in charge wouldn't allow that behavior. He had high expectations.
The sensei. Yeah.
They had, whoever was it, whether it was me, whether it was sensei, whether it was the other sensei, she was great. That's the thing. Like, a lot of times people think, oh, like if it's an authority figure, usually it's a male, especially in martial arts, right? But I was lucky enough to train alongside 2 female authority figures who were just as strict, if not stricter than my own sensei was, right? And they knew how to handle a class.
Yeah.
Like no one wanted to mess around in that class. They were great and and they got the kids to behave. It was when they were off the mat and the parents enabled their bad behavior that's when it would click. And that's why it wasn't translating. Because if the parents continued with the expectations that sensei or whoever was leading the class set for those children, then it'd be fine.
Mm-hmm.
I ended up, like, because I was at the dojo so much saying, yes, sir, yes, ma'am, it became instinctual that I was responding to my parents, yes, mom, yes, dad, all the time. Like, there was never a single moment I didn't say, yes, mom, yes, dad.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying just like, oh, yeah, mom, or yeah, dad. No, it was, yes, mom, go. Yes, dad, go. It was literally
Right.
almost military-like. But my parents were like, what happened? I said, I'm around it so much. Like, it's just now, it's what I do.
Oh, yeah. I think it's important to command certain, like, well, when I did karate, our motto was focus, discipline, and respect. Those were, like, the mantras of the dojo that I was in. And it was, I mean, it held true. And I think the whole, like, sir, ma'am kind of thing, if you command it, it's going to be given to you. Like, I mean, maybe some people can relate. When my parents would call me, and I responded with, ¿qué? ¿O qué quieres?
Oh, yeah.
They would whip me into shape with, like,
Yep.
no. It's mande.
Yeah.
They would stop it because there's appropriate, respectful way to ask somebody what is it that you need. ¿Qué quieres is the improper way.
Yeah.
It comes off as rude.
I started saying Monday too.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
I may be no sabo, but I know Monday's the way to respond to
No
Spanish.
sub.
Whatever it is, point proven. But yeah, it's crazy because someone recently told me that Monday was like how it was actually really degrading in Spanish culture. Because that was how the slaves responded to their slave masters in Mexico during the Spanish Inquisition and all this. And I was like, well, let's think about this for a second. To a certain degree, the kids need to respect their parents very highly.
Mm-hmm.
You are being clothed, bathed, and fed, nurtured, for no cost whatsoever.
Mm-hmm.
You better have some respect for your parents. Whether or not that whole Mande thing coming from slavery is true or not, it's the respectful way to respond. That's how you should respond. Do you ever have Mia say Mande? How does Mia respond to you when you ask her to do something?
That goes back to her mom. Her mom trained her to say mande. Because
Nice.
I always find with what. But it's so cool that we're better parents separated. To all you people that are thinking about getting divorced. I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. Try to work it out.
Crazy.
First, pray to Mary and Joseph that use that book, the Holy Spouse's Rosary. And if that doesn't work out, then
Authored by our very own
Father
Father Larry
Larry.
We
Tosh.
get 25 cents every time we recommend this book.
We do not.
and we'll get better mics, but we do not.
You should definitely
This
buy this.
podcast is sponsored to you by no, but that was her mom that whipped her into shape. When she started to tell me Manda, I'm like, what? Like, it's like her calling me Mister. Like I wasn't ready for that.
But it's kind of nice. Right?
It's very respectful, and I appreciate it. And I don't think I would have appreciated it as much if her mom wouldn't have. If it wouldn't, it's something that I didn't know that I would appreciate unless it happened. You know, if it would have never happened, I would have never noticed it. But I really am grateful for it.
It's funny because there's also like it's kind of a funny opposite because there's a also formal, not so formal way of it's the tú versus usted.
Yeah.
I got my mom. My mom told me because I think this happened when I was starting my first job and working in the fields with my grandpa. That she pointed out that I use usted around him, which is like a more formal thing, and tú is more for like you're in a more like
Like
casual.
your buddies.
Yeah, your buddies, your family. So I was like, oh, I thought usted
Like-
was like more like
Like tú, it has been mental. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
But it's kind of cool because I mean, I think this just goes into language. But I was gonna bring up something that you brought up because of what you said, whether it was in a joking manner or there's some genuine stuff behind it. Have you heard of the whole discussion about like co-parenting?
What's the discussion?
Or like it's becoming more modern. I mean,
It's something that's more common, right?
It's more common, at least what I've seen,
Yeah.
is like just the whole fact that when a couple separates and they have kids, they talk about like their co-parenting habits, like when she's with dad this way, which is with
Yeah.
mom this thing, and they kind of go about it. Whereas they're really putting the focus on the kid, whereas like the whole environment has changed, that they're still putting a lot of focus and a lot of love and a lot of effort into raising their kid a right way. And
I will give credit where credit is due, and I will also say like, man, they're being way too hard on her, and that's a constant conversation. They think I'm way too lenient. They think I'm way too kickback. I might be, but once again, I focus more on how is she reacting. How does she interact with other people?
Yeah.
Her results I don't really know. So because me and my ex-wife we really don't go into depth to that.
right.
But I know I get a lot more criticism on how I'm raising her, which is fine. But because there's always going to be that assumption if there's no conversation. So I understand that. I don't take it as personal anymore. I'm just like, yeah, whatever. Like until we talk about it, then we won't see. So I just give credit where credit is due. And if there's something that's bothering Mia that's coming from her mom's side and her stepdad, we just talk it out and kind of try to find a way to go through that. I even told her, like, hey, use it as a penance. Offer this up, and offer it up for them and for yourself. I don't know exactly the conversations they say about me, but I definitely do know that they say that I'm extremely too lenient. All I do is kick back. I just let her eat Maruchan and watch anime, but I'm like, I do that too.
Do you think you would have? Do you think it'd be different if you had a son?
Yeah.
Because I mean, you're the father. He's a son.
I feel
you
like-
think it would change a lot. Where like,
Well, I don't know. Because, like, Mia, when she wears, like, something pink or a dress, I'm like, you're a girl. It's just I'm like, shut up. Because she dresses so tomboyish.
Oh my gosh, you're actually female. What?
Yeah. But I don't know. I know I wouldn't have appreciated her as much if I would have been married. And that has nothing to do with me being a single dad. It was just that I wasn't doing marriage correctly. Because I'm pretty sure I still could have achieved that while being married.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Like, I guess, yeah, I try to give credit where credit is due. And if there's criticisms, like, I just try to talk it out with her. If they're wrong in a certain aspect, or if she feels a certain way, I'll try to, like, hey, well, look at your mom's perspective. Yeah, this is how it is, but look at her perspective, and this is the way that she thinks, her family background or stuff that's happened to her in the past. I'm all like, so just take that into consideration. It's not an excuse. Me and your mom should always do our best. And I know, and I guess that's another thing that I appreciate about her mom. I know she's trying her best, and that's why I'm not too hard on her either, But I've had a couple friends go through a divorce right now. A coworker's going through a divorce, and he's like, dude, everybody's getting a divorce. I'm like, dude, it's like when you buy a new car. Like, if I get a Honda Civic, I'm like, I see them everywhere. So if you're going through a divorce, I see them everywhere. And I've seen I'll be honest, and this is not to pat myself on the back. I'm usually not this egotistical, but I think I'm doing co-parenting really good. I feel like I'm really blessed with me and her mom. But it took two of us for us to do that. I've seen other co-parenting that it's very selfish. They just think about themselves a lot. I mean, I can only
Yeah.
because I'm not gonna lie. Like the first year, the first 2 years, I was like that, and it wasn't. I have to chalk it up to being involved in the church and understanding my faith a lot more and understanding what I'm supposed to do. But I can't really judge them because I know what it's like to feel that frustration and anger and that hurt and that pain from ex-spouses. But at the same time, there's got to be a limit. You gotta understand that it's your whatever it is that you have against your ex-spouse, regardless of what it was, you have to put that aside or just put that in private and focus on your kid while you have them, in my opinion.
No, and I would agree with you because recently my wife works at a place where she does work with kids, not a school. I won't say the company. I won't even say my wife's name because confidentiality. But she has told me stories of
Check out episode 8, by the way.
you know the episode numbers by heart.
No.
But she would tell me stories about because one parent would drop him off and one parent would pick him up, and the certain little things that they would do, like some kind of habits, like they would bring the child with a different set of clothes because they didn't want mama to have the clothes that dad bought for. Yeah, okay. So come on.
Yeah, that happens. Mia would be like, "No, I have to take this shirt back," and I'm like, "Okay, that's fine." And I'm like, "Hey, take church clothes to your mom's house. That way, when I pick you up for church, just have it ready, and you don't have to come over here and change."
It saves you the trouble.
Yeah, I do it for that. And at the end of the day, it's her clothes. She can decide where she wants to keep it.
Hold that thought real quick.
Holding that thought, and you guys are just trading chips.
I loved episode 19. What's his name?
Mike.
Mobster Mike.
Mike.
Yeah.
Mobster Gomez.
You were talking about how when you would I think it was when you would drop up me off that you would she wanted to get something for her sister. Go ahead.
Yeah. So Mia's mom has a kid. I think she's 3 now. Well, I mean, I know her birthday because it's between Mia's birthday and my birthday. We're both in April.
That's cute.
So so when I'm with Mia, say for example, because every Tuesday after jiu-jitsu, we get Taco Bell, and order it online.
Kevin, no judging, Kevin.
Hey, at least
We don't judge.
after kids jiu-jitsu, not my jiu-jitsu. I don't even go to jiu-jitsu class anymore. Anyways, everything good, Alex?
Yeah.
All right, cool. Cool. That camera's on?
Yeah, it's red.
Okay.
Everything's red. Go on.
What was your... Oh, Taco Bell.
Taco Bell.
She's all saying like, oh, my sister likes the cheese and chips. I'm like, cool, so we'll get extra, or she's like, oh, let me eat the burrito. Like, I want to share half of my burrito with her, or you know what, she always drinks my Mountain Dew Freeze, so I'm like, yeah, just share it with your sister, or get a little larger one, that way they can share. That's just one example, but every time we're out and she's like, oh, my sister likes that, and it's the day that I have to take her back, I'm like, just get it. It's usually small stuff like a candy or something, It's nothing
She's straight,
big.
right? She's
And it's
like,
a
oh.
kid.
Yeah.
It's a kid, man.
Exactly.
Yeah.
She's not my kid. I can't say that I love that kid,
No.
but I know my daughter loves that kid, and I love my daughter.
Yeah.
So I will support who she loves.
It's almost like if your kid wanted to get something for their best friend that's always hanging out with them, It's like
No, she has an allowance, and she can pay that with her own money.
But it's kind of like that, like, oh, you know what, it's your best friend. I'll take care of you, but taking care of them type thing. Yeah. So I get that. I think that's cool.
I was gonna say, I think that should extend, and I think like parents who are co-parenting. Again, I'm not in that position, so you can take what I say with a grain of salt. But your daughter or son's favorite woman in the world is their mom, and their favorite man in the world is their dad. Mm-hmm. So when dad's with the daughter or son, and they want to bring something back to mom, you might see mom as someone else, but they see mom as like their life. Their one and only mom. So like, you can't really hold those grudges or whatever dislikes or whatever. Like, I don't know what your the background is, but you do have to set that aside for the kid because it's just. I saw this video. I think I shared it with you actually, or I don't remember if I did because I didn't have the balls to. And I was like, I don't know, but this man was saying that parents paint their other or their baby mama or their baby daddy negatively without doing it intentionally or without like being so obvious about it. And he gave the example of when they do the handoff or the exchange. They would ask like, "Oh, how was time with Daddy? Oh, he took you to the park. It's kind of cold outside, you know. Like, he did that today, really? Okay, what did you guys eat? Oh, he got you a enchilada, just one. Wow, did you not have enough food? Oh, wow. Like he did it perfectly though, because it was just the way they would talk about their experience with mom or their experience with dad in a very like, really, that happened? Oh, why only that? Is all you had? And they kind of paint them in a kind of like, oh wait, I should be cautious when I'm around mom, or I should be cautious when I'm around dad, and it's really damaging because they can be thinking like, oh, I'm doing a great job at co-parenting, when in reality it's like I'm making my kid putting them in the middle of this tough spot to be.
Yeah, and my kid shares everything that they say about me, and I'm just like, that's fine, or I'll just explain myself a little bit, be like, wait, okay, that's kind of true, but and then I honestly started just talking things out with her. For example, if there's a situation that's really bothering her at her mom's, I'm pretty sure that I've done things that pissed her off too. Not my baby mom, but Mia. Or something that she didn't like. She talks to me about it, and I'm like, okay, it's really bothering you. Do you want me to talk to your mom about it? And she's like, no, I think I'll handle it. I just kind of wanted to talk it out. But I told her, like, if it ever gets to a point where, like, something bad happens, we'll talk it out. I'm not going to go directly to her until you and I find, like, if there's something that needs to be said here, you know? Because I don't want her to be, like, blindsided by that. And I hate to say this, and luckily I know that they're not subscribed. And if you are, thank you. I really appreciate it. Or watch these videos.
You're like, oh, what is it?
I know that she does like protect me a lot, or doesn't say a lot of things of stuff that like we do here to not get me in trouble with mom, kind of thing. Not that I'm doing anything bad.
Okay, I was about to say like,
but like for example, all right, this is terrible parenting. We're into
you give her a cigarette.
No, I give her a cigar.
There you go.
No,
Real tobacco.
No, and this is just an honest thing because I didn't know what it was. So we're getting into anime, and we're all caught up on the ones that we like, and we're just waiting for the following seasons. So you guys know where I'm going with this, right?
Yeah.
So I'm all like, hey, we were at the comic book store, and they had like a cosplay thing, and somebody was dressed up as Chainsaw Man. I'm like, well, let's check it out.
Oh no.
Yeah, and then I'm like, oh, this was bad. That's that type of anime. Yeah. And even Mia was like, it says MA. I'm like, oh yeah.
Oh come on, Diego. She's screaming at you like.
Yeah. So like, there's moments like that I know she's not gonna share over there.
It was an accident.
No, well, I mean, in my behalf, yeah, I neglected seeing the rating on it, but it was just like, if it's bad. But she was smart enough to be like, she was smart enough.
I know that shit.
To be like, we shouldn't watch this. I'm like, well, you're a better person than me, Mia, because this is pretty interesting. Aside from all that stuff.
Yeah.
Know? It's a good thing. Good segue to our sponsor, Covenant Eyes. If you see Eyes, they do a good job, but no, it happens. But
I think I have a different perspective on the co-parenting thing, only because as a teacher, I'm like the third party out of it. There is definitely a difference. There's like 3 different things. You see the kids who are raised in a single household with both parents present, right? You see the kids who are raised in split households, but the co-parenting is very well, and they communicate a lot. And then you see the kids who are living in split households with absolutely zero co-parenting skills, right?
yeah,
And it does affect their behavior, because you have a kid come back from parent A acting great. And you have a kid come back, and that same kid goes to parent B, comes back the next day, totally off the rails. All of a sudden, you're doing behavior referrals like it's your life depends on them, right? It's one. I think the thing that matters the most is that the parents maintain the same standard in both households, at least, especially when it comes to behavior. Because if one parent lets the kid get off with more than the other, that kid's gonna carry that to school.
oh yeah.
So if they're getting like super strict parenting at parent A, and they go to school and they're behaving, they're following rules, because that's what they've had to do for the past weekend.
Right.
But then they go to parent B, who lets them willy-nilly shit. Then they come to school. They're gonna willy-nilly shit.
I can imagine that being so much harder for you because what you said about like teachers becoming like the new parents nowadays, like
Yeah.
unwillingly. Because
We're parent number 3.
have you noticed like how often the trade-offs are based off like 1 week, oh he's an
Yeah.
angel, 1 week, oh he's acting thug all of a sudden, or
Yeah.
1 week like oh he's quiet, or then the next week oh he's talking to his friend a lot more.
100%.
Wow. how's
Sometimes it's sad because sometimes the kids don't want to go with a certain parent, and so they're like, "Oh, I'm getting picked up by this parent today," and they're sad about it,
Whoa.
or they're sad the next day because they were with that parent, and that parent kind of ignores them a little bit, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you can't get them on neglect. That's not enough for like a CPS neglect call.
Really?
No, it
Neglect
has
isn't
it has
enough
to be
anymore?
it has to be significant amount of like because
Like
it has
you
to
see
be
the
emotional neglect.
Can you describe or define how the? I mean, I'm assuming
Like
you
a
would
parent
know.
yelling at a kid telling him you're shit.
Oh, okay.
You know, like degrading the child.
Wow.
Emotional neglect is, oh, my parent just told me to sit down and watch TV all night. We didn't really talk. That's not emotional neglect.
That's just
being a bad parent.
That's not using your time wisely.
Exactly. That's being a poor parent. So, and the teacher has to hear this. That's the weird part is like, teacher becomes middleman.
That's horrible.
So, there are the times, and I so appreciate this, when the parents are divorced, and we have parent-teacher conferences, but parents are like, this is for the kid, and the parents come together. So even though they're divorced and whatever bad blood's going on between them, they show up to the parent-teacher conference together, and they're very cordial with each other, and they're very cordial with the teacher, saying, they're not saying, well, this person lets it get away with this, you know? It's, what can we do in our households that's better? Well, I noticed she's doing this. Oh, I've been doing that with her. Oh, okay, I'll pick up on doing that with her too. Or, you know, and that helps so much, because now the teacher isn't trying to make 2 separate plans to accommodate one child. We already have 20 plus.
Oh.
Imagine, and this is the sad part, at least half of my class is right now split household. So then you have, yeah. And so when you have the parents who are like, we work together, we do things together, like, oh, that helps so much. But like, small thing, parents ask, hey, like, they come to me this week, they go to this one this week, they don't bring me the spelling list, can you send them with 2? That seems like a small thing, but what went from printing 20 spelling lists is now I'm printing 22, 24, because more parents are asking for it. And paper costs money. So it's a butterfly effect.
Yeah.
When the parents aren't on good terms and they're not co-parenting, it starts to affect not just the kid, but the teacher, and in a way, the rest of the class. So it's a bigger butterfly effect. So the fact that you're able to co-parent pretty damn well, right? That is not just an effect on Mia, but on her class and on her teacher, and it
Right.
helps. It really helps.
Yeah. When it comes to school stuff, I'm always teacher side.
Yeah.
Because my parents were always teacher side, and I got to take it out on someone. Sorry, Mia. No, but I know it's not an easy job dealing with a bunch of kids.
Oh yeah.
And I mean, I used to help out at TOB.
High school is different.
Actually, I was gonna ask Kevin because you working after school, right?
Yeah.
So you get the kids that spend even less time at home. Have you noticed anything any kind of like trends or anything with the parents, or have they talked to you personally one on one? Have you noticed anything kind of like outstandish from the kids that stay after school and the parents that pick them up?
Well, I was gonna bring it up that not every kid has a perfect situation going on at home. I quickly realized, like, like at the beginning of the year, I was like, man, this kid is acting up. Like, you know, like your like initial thoughts are like, man, this kid needs to get disciplined, right? He needs to learn there are consequences to his actions. But then I quickly, like, over time, when we have our clerk, she quickly, like, because she was there longer, she quickly like explained, like, oh, this is going on at home. This is like not everybody has a perfect situation going on at home. That's when I was like becoming more lenient towards stuff, letting stuff like, all right, like maybe he just needs to get something out, you know?
Yeah.
I think that's what I've learned is that everybody's situation is different.
It is.
I was also going to ask you too because I think someone brought it up to my attention. You can eat the rest of these now.
No, I'm chilling, bro. But real quick,
go ahead.
Piggyback off something he said. I think that's a part where they weren't telling you what was going on at home. That's so detrimental. Because, like, I'll find out stuff. I'm like, this kid's been acting out for, like, 3 weeks. This event happened 4 weeks ago. If you had told me, I would have made changes. But you were not transparent with us. and the teacher wasn't able to make the accommodations necessary to help the child.
But doesn't that backpedal your stance of how the teachers shouldn't be as involved as they are currently?
No, but the minute it's pretty much reaction at that point. You know what I'm saying?
Oh,
What
okay.
happened at home, and it's affecting the child one way or another. So you either tell the teacher and they can be proactive about it, or you can not tell them, and now we're stuck backpedaling, being reactive with 23 other kids in the classroom.
I would say that's okay with certain, like, for example, like in my class, one of my coworkers, one of my classmates, lost a relative throughout the weekend.
Oh,
And the parent like walked in with them, so I was like, "Hey, what's your mom doing here?" He's like, "Oh, they want to talk to the teacher." And I noticed he was upset. She came to tell him, the teacher, that. It's like, "Hey, we experienced a loss recently, and he's coping, obviously.
Yeah.
And we just want to let you know that you're not confused as to why his behavior has changed."
yeah.
Things like that, I understand.
Yes.
Is that what you're noticing, or is
Things
it
like that. Like, I came back from winter break one time, and kids' parents had split.
Oh.
And so they were dealing with that. And these kids were old enough to realize this kid at least was old enough to realize what was going on. But nothing was communicated to me. So when I'm like trying to figure out why this kid doesn't have their homework, why this kid is missing their spelling packet, why they're not studying as much, why is it when I talk about one parent, the kid's upset, and when I talk about the other one, they're like confused. It became like I didn't know the kid anymore. How am I supposed to teach a kid I don't know anymore?
That's true.
Especially halfway through the year. It's not like this was day one. This was halfway through the year. We developed a rep, and there was no communication until parent-teacher conferences come around. Oh, by the way, this happened. That was something you communicate the first day back.
Yeah.
Because how am I going to make... You're making me become reactionary. I'm already reactionary to, like, everything else in the classroom. Like, Timmy throws a pencil at little Lisa, and I'm...
Again, there's no Timmy,
No
there's
Timmy, no Lisa.
They don't exist.
But if I'm reacting to that, that's already one reaction out of thousands we have to make. It's like 1,500 decisions a teacher makes a day on their toes. 1,500 decisions.
Right.
You want to add to that by not telling me that something very big happened at home, and now I have to react to it without any prior knowledge. You're making the teacher's job harder.
That's, I mean, as a teacher, how I mean, I guess you're kind of explaining it right now, but how adept are you to, like, because I mean, I'm assuming the teachers or the parents might be like, oh, maybe it's just not you're not teaching in his teaching style or something like that. Do you accommodate for, like, kids who are prefer to be taught a certain way?
You're gonna get Alex fired.
Oh, no, check this out. No, it's okay. Because here's the deal. So that's a great question. Because first year me would say, I am not inept enough to handle any of these situations that are coming my way.
Well,
I mean, situations like hypothetical situation. Let's go through a hypothetical.
there's no Timmy, there's no Lisa.
There's no Timmy, no Lisa. A kid is acting out a lot. And I mean, like, angry, aggressive all the time. Wasn't this bad before? I'm trying to figure out why this kid's aggressive. Man, the kid comes up and starts bawling and says, oh, my parent got arrested in front of me.
Whoa.
When did this happen? Like 3-4 days ago. That's not something that the teacher should just be like, hypothetically, this is not something a teacher should just find out from a 7-8-year-old, That's not something they should find out. And the reason why is I'm treating these behaviors as if it's a normal thing. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're going home to both parents. You're going to be treated by both parents like how you should be. I'm communicating like both parents are there.
Ooh, yeah.
I'm like, you're going to hear from this parent because I just emailed them. No, they're not going to hear from that parent. That parent's not there.
I was about to say right now, like,
That's the thing. It's like, and this hypothetical situation, the teacher is caught so off guard because then you don't realize this, but teachers are mandated reporters. If this was an emotionally abusive event for this child, I have to report it. I have to report that the child witnessed this. So this idea that teachers are inept, yes, they are. But that doesn't mean they're not in that situation.
Yeah, it's a tough
And they
situation
still
to
have
be
to
in.
deal with it. So first year,
Yeah.
third year teachers, you got these rookie teachers who don't know how to deal with these situations because that's not what they were supposed to deal with. Our credential program, all of our training is about how do you teach math? How do you teach English? How do you deal with this? How do you teach a kid not to hit little Rebecca or something like that? No Rebecca. I'm going to start doing that now. There is no Rebecca. that's what our thing is. It's not how do you deal with a parent getting arrested. It's not how do you deal with a sudden divorce. How do you deal with the kid's parents abandoning them and now they're with their grandparents? These are all hypotheticals, but these are also real situations that you could look up the stats for. I had to look this stuff up for classes.
Right.
I remember this one story. I was in 7th grade, and this dude that sat behind me, we were in math class. I remember because I kept failing. And this
you
dude
beat him up?
behind me, he had his head down the whole time, and it was kind of out of character. And the teacher, like, I don't know if she was having a bad day. And I think parents also need to understand that teachers will also have bad days, you know?
Oh, yes.
But get the mic closer.
A lot.
Yeah. But she was like, she went off on this guy. And then he put his head up and like it looked like he was crying. And then this other girl that was like a mutual friend of his, she whispered, but since they're behind me, I heard the whisper. His brother just got shot. And like, cause his brother was involved in gangs, right? And dude, I'll never forget the look on the teacher's face. She just closed her eyes, like, dang,
Yeah.
you know. And and there's certain things that no matter how much training or experience will ever like prepare you for.
Yeah. But it is like nothing's ever gonna prepare you for how to deal with a kid whose brother.
Absolutely not. dude.
Never.
There's no curriculum for it.
But there is a difference between a teacher who's being proactive and a teacher that's being reactive.
Mm-hmm.
And a teacher that's being proactive means that they have sought out resources. They've consulted with the school psychologist. They've consulted with admin.
Yeah, and
to try
I think
to deal with that
I think this was the like all day. Like I guess that had happened that day or the day before, the night before.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Or I don't know, that morning, where he got the news. So and the importance of letting the teacher know, because she found out. She called the office, not in front of the class, like
Yeah.
but like you can see, like since I heard what happened,
Right.
I saw her step out, and then she went to him and she told everybody, oh, like just to have some free time. So everybody was just kind of like BSing,
Yeah.
and she talked to him, like got him in a private moment, and like I can see that like the distress in her demeanor because of like how she was talking to him.
Mm-hmm.
And she said, go to I remember, like, go to the office and
School
whatever.
pass.
So I don't know what happened exactly, but it was probably most likely
Like
that.
that.
Right.
And so the moment she found out, I think that she acted properly, like as she
Once
should have.
found out,
yeah.
Yeah, once she found out, she
100%.
did that. And the importance of letting them know. But as a kid, it's like, how do I tell anybody this? Like, I can't even believe it, you
And
know?
that's the thing.
It shouldn't be
It's
on the
not up
kid.
to the kid.
It's not-
It
should
shouldn't
not be
the
up to the kid, dude.
It should never be the kid.
He should have never
talking-
gone to school.
Yeah.
That's for the-
that's one. But the kid should never be the one to talk to the teacher and say, "Listen, man, my parents just got like shot or something like that." If it's a traumatic event, that's something where like, "Hey, listen, this is what happened." They still decided to come to school. I had a situation where a student's parent was on their deathbed, and I didn't know this. They were in a coma, and they were like, the parents never gonna wake up. They're gonna die eventually, really soon probably. And they finally told me this, and they were like, "We just told the child. That's why he's acting different." I was like, "Thank you for telling me this." They told me that before. They told me that very quickly after they let the child know. So I was able to be a little bit more instinctual and reactive.
What?
Oh, thank you. And a little bit more instinctual and reactive to what was going on. And then when that parent passed away, it allowed me as a teacher to feel empathy for the child because I knew what the child was going through prior. Right? It wasn't something where like I'd already developed this negative attitude toward the child because of how they were acting. I knew they were acting a certain way because of something. I'd been informed properly. And when the kid wasn't at school that day, I was like, this is probably what happened. And then the kid came back and I was able to like respond correctly.
That's good.
But I think it's sad how much the teacher role has been downplayed nowadays to where people think, they're just paid. They're paid babysitters. Which, if you paid us like babysitters, man, we'd be making 6 figures. So shut up with that narrative. I'm sorry, but that's a pathetic narrative. We'd be making close to $330,000 if we got paid as a babysitter. $10 a kid per hour.
Why am I need to change career.
I know, I need to be a babysitter at this point. I get paid more. Way more.
I'm a babysitter.
And you get paid like it. Hella paid.
No, yeah.
But this whatever's going on at home, because the teachers are such a big part of these kids' lives, they need to be told.
Yeah.
Don't forget, there's 365 days a year, right?
Right.
183 is how much a teacher is contracted for.
Well, that's right.
Half the year, your kid is with that teacher. So you better make damn sure you're treating that teacher with respect and informing them what's going on, because they're going to see that kid more than you for those months. They really are. You don't see you get your kid back at 3 o'clock. If you're lucky, right? Especially now with work hours, you see them until they go to bed. That's 5 hours. I saw him for 7.5.
There's a reason
Already
why-
got you beat.
I was gonna say, there's a reason why kids accidentally call their teachers mom or dad.
Yeah, there's a reason why kids who have only a mom or a dad look at the teacher like,
Speaking
hey,
from
do you want to do
experience,
this?
Christian.
Accidentally, I was like, okay, mom. Oh, and then the whole class is like, Christian is
I would
stupid.
say I made that
was
mistake,
like,
but my
alright.
teacher was my mom.
Shut up, kid. You're homeschooled. Get out of here.
Ah, you homeschooled.
You would have probably. You would have
homeschooled. What do you?
That's a wild subject. Oh, that's...
Wait, did you?
No!
Okay, then why are you mad?
I actually went... I did get to go to prom and winter formal. But that was because someone asked me to those dances.
Oh.
I had one. No.
Your living room?
My students were like saying today, hey, you know, I'm not going to show up to school. I'm going to ditch. Like, that's what school's for, so you can ditch it. And I looked at them straight in the eye. I said, I tried ditching school, but it's really hard to get, you know, ditch school when that's in the kitchen and you're ditching to the living room. You're just going to get in trouble. All my students look at me, no way, you were homeschooled. At that moment, I realized I kind of screwed up because they were going to make the homeschool jokes for the rest of the year.
You can make a lot of jokes as a homeschooler.
There's so many jokes against homeschoolers.
There was a gun on campus.
Does that make Gil?
You're not wrong. No,
Does that make Gilbert the principal or the
Yes.
superintendent?
No. I
dean?
always
He
tell
was the
kids,
dean.
my mom was my teacher, my dad was my principal. Because when I didn't behave, the teacher sent me to the principal, and I was scared, man, and not in a bad way. Like not in the like, oh man, dad was abusive. No, my dad is awesome. I am blessed with the dad I have, right? And I had a respectful fear of the man because he came home. He's like, I just got off work, and all I'm gonna hear is bad things. I'm like, I'm so sorry. Like, he wouldn't do anything. He was just, I'm disappointed. That's the worst thing you could have told. I'd rather you ground me for a month than tell me you're disappointed.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And I think it's crazy.
It is.
Dads are important because of that, you know? Good dads are important because of that. Because they don't even got to do anything. They just look at you and you're, damn, I screwed
They
up.
just do that. And that's it.
That's
You're
the
like-
worst feeling. Is I'm not mad. I'm just disappointed.
I'm just disappointed.
That is so... Have you ever said that? I'm curious now. Have you ever said that?
You gotta wait for the right moment.
Give him the mic.
It's going to be a big moment. I'm not mad. I'm disappointed.
Yeah, I did it once.
What happened? No, I'm not asking what she did. I'm asking, like, that moment. How did you feel, and what was her immediate reaction like?
Well, I was disappointed.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it was something funny, and I couldn't laugh. That's the toughest thing.
That's a tough
when
thing.
your kids are being hilarious and doing things that you would have done as a kid.
Yup.
It's like, I'm disappointed, but you're not grounded. And I didn't know that hurt more. And till this day, she says, like, she's more scared of us being disappointed because she gets grounded all the time. So, yeah, I mean, and it's something that I hold in my back pocket, like if I ever really, really need it. But luckily, she doesn't. I mean, as far as I can tell. Because I'm pretty straightforward with her. Like, if she, like, gets onto social media, I'll be like, watch out for this because there's people like this.
Yeah.
I'm so glad that you brought up social media because I wanted to talk about that.
Yeah.
Have you guys heard of a show called Adolescence on Netflix?
I have heard about it. I've heard about it. I never watched it, but that's the one with the kid who's being accused of something, right?
He's being accused of murdering another student at his school.
And that was their 13th reason.
Oh.
No, it's a different show. Don't watch that show.
I
Please do
use
not
that
watch
line
the
way
show.
too much. I'm not gonna lie. Like, someone does something stupid, I'm like, that was my 13th reason. And they just look at me like, what kind of fucked up mindset do you have? Like, it's a really fucked up comment to make. Honestly.
Kevin hasn't seen 13 Reasons Why.
Consider
Dude,
yourself blessed.
You're blessed, dude. You're
I watched
honestly
season
blessed.
1, and that was enough for me. Like, even then, that was a bit much. Especially the last episode.
I
watched
watched season 2, and it was 26 Reasons by that time.
Oh my
That's crazy.
Oh, dude, quiet. She goes back.
In case you didn't notice, he did math there.
No. But this show is really interesting because it surrounds a kid who has been arrested for murder. The interesting thing is that his family, it surrounds the family. He has a dad, a mom, and an older sister. They seem like a really nice, chill, loving family. What influenced him down this path is social media, which you just mentioned right now.
Wait, hold on.
Go
Don't
ahead.
spoil that he did it or not.
I'm not gonna spoil that, but I do like it because it's only 4 episodes long. If you guys want, I highly recommend this show. My family all my family has watched it.
On Netflix?
It's on Netflix.
What's your username and
Yeah,
password?
it's Christian.g. No, I'm just kidding. Get out of here, dude. But
This show was sponsored by Netflix.
No, it was not. But pay us. Netflix.
That'd be cool.
no, yeah, but it shows a lot about. It talks a lot about. It's funny because it actually, by his name, mentions Andrew Tate. It mentions like the red pill mentality. It mentions incels. It mentions how these young kids, these young men, go on social media and have this ideology of like how to treat women. Oh, women are like this. You gotta treat them like this. You gotta act around like them like this. And because of that and the influence, these kids like it's okay. It's 4 episodes. Each one takes place at a different location. The first one's at his house when he gets arrested, and then the police station when he gets taken. Second one is at the actual campus of his school. It looks like the teachers are babysitting the kids. They go through doors to let them know, like, hey, we're here to interview some students. We're here to talk to some students about certain things. They open the door, rowdy. Teachers telling kids, sit down, be quiet. We're going to watch a video. As always, just take notes. The kids are, like, making jokes to the teacher. Some of them have respect for the teacher, but they still joke, like, oh, I love Mr. whatever his name. He's the best guy. He's so funny. And, like, it shows the side of school that we don't really see in movies or in TV. The whole... how teenagers actually act,
The reality.
the respect for the authority figure, and I was bringing that up because I think someone told me not too long ago, Kevin, that for the after school program, the male tutors are like really chummy with the guys. Like you tell the guys to do something, they'll listen and obey. But when the girls tutors ask for something, they kind of show some sort of retaliation, some sort of a different type of behavior. Maybe you can talk a little bit more about that.
I'm sure Alex has a lot more to say, but I think as like guys, we have a lot more authority. We do a lot more discipline that makes sense, kind of thing. Like when a girl punishes somebody, it's kind of like they're like, okay, why am I doing this? But like,
or gives consequences.
Yeah.
The professional term we're supposed to use.
but I do notice like the guys have a lot more respect than the girl tutors. Maybe it's because their voice can't get as high. Or they're not as intimidating. But I don't know if Alex does anything.
No, yeah. I was hired because I was male. And I was told that. The principal told me, listen, I'm looking for male teachers. You're the only male applicant. So I'm hiring you, and I expect big things from you.
You're a DEI hire?
I was a DEI hire. Why is it like when I say that, they're like, oh, you're making fun of it. No, I was the diversity.
Because you're Mexican?
100%. Yo soy mexicano.
He said, Simba.
Soy un maestro.
Can you hit the Viva Mexico one time?
Oh man, I'm
All right,
so
let's
white.
have a
Anyways,
prayer.
back to the serious topic we were discussing. No, it's crazy because like there's I can count on my hand how many male teachers there are on my campus. There's 36 teachers total, but I can count on my hand how many male teachers there are. So when a kid acts up, it's so crazy that I'm the one they bring these students to. Or when someone acts up, they're like, hey, especially in the higher grades, I'm a primary teacher. They go to these higher grade teachers will come to me, hey, they're not listening. They're acting up in class. I need you to talk to them. I'm like, all right, I will. I talk to them. They shape up. It's a male thing. We can't deny the fact that male figures are critical, just as female figures are too. Female figures have a place, but male figures have such a strong, especially when there's so few dads now. That's, I think, what it is. I think it's the lack of father figures in the world. In the world in general, there's not a many father figures. 21% of kids grow up without a father in the household. 21%. I just looked that up, so you could check me on it. 21%. Okay, that's almost a quarter of kids. 1 in every 4 kids grows up without a father in the household, and that's sad. And I think it's. I wanted to talk to you guys about this, like that change in masculinity, right? What did they call it? The red the red pill mentality. And I get it. Andrew Tate is very far along the way, right? He's so far along it. But to a certain extent, he's not wrong in what he says. Because in the end, he's telling men.
And this is our last episode. Thank you so much for watching.
I don't approve of everything he says. But there's a lot of things he says that are great. I think the best quote Andrew Tate had, can't remember if it was with what's her name? What's the chick that went off of the Daily Wire?
Brett
Brett
Not
Cooper?
Brett Cooper, the one before her.
Oh, Brett Kavanaugh?
No,
Brett,
Owens, right? Candace Owens?
Candace Owens. It might have been with her. But he said, of course I think men and women are equal, but that doesn't mean they're the same. And that was probably his greatest quote. Because in the end, he explained it great. Men and women are equal. They're equally important. You know, society needs men to lead and women to nurture. But you can't say they're the same. You can't say they're the same. They're not. There's nothing about us that's the same besides the fact we're made in the image and likeness of God. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, well, that's what I kind of want to bring up. We're equal in dignity.
Yes.
And in like how he said, made in the likeness and image of God. But we each have our own roles and duties to adhere to.
Yeah. And I think society has tried to blur that and get rid of it so much that now you have women who don't know what their role is. And that's a totally different topic for you to have with a woman on this podcast. But when it comes to the men don't know what they're supposed to do or how they're supposed to act. And now we're stuck with the consequences. I wanted to ask you guys this. Like, we're right now dealing with, I don't know where to put us on the pendulum swing. But it feels like the pendulum's finally starting to swing the other way when it comes to men acting like men. Like, it's starting to swing the opposite way. We had this whole effeminate generation of men. But now they started to see the consequences, and we're slowly starting to go the other way. But at the same time, men have such a high rate of suicide.
I don't know. It depends what your algorithm is, I guess.
That's true.
Because we can say certain things, but I know there's certain areas in just like city to city that it can definitely swing either way. But I would like to think so, that we're stepping into our roles. It's definitely hard because I feel like I've been raised more by females than by men, and it's not, I don't blame my dad on that because he was in that generation too. In the 50s, 60s, like he was more towards his mom and had resentment towards his dad, you know?
Quick question, real quick. Did you have mostly female teachers?
Yeah, and I don't remember all my female teachers, but I remember all my male teachers.
You can count on your hand how many you had, huh?
One.
Yeah.
I had one.
In high school, I had a couple more. I had like maybe 6 or 7.
Oh, yeah, in high school, yeah.
Yeah.
But
In elementary,
middle
just
school,
one. Yeah, 6th grade.
None of because I went to elementary school for 3 years. None of them were male teachers. I only had one male teacher at the school I was at, and he was the computer lab teacher. That was it. That was it. And in the first school I worked at, I was the last male standing. They got rid of all the male teachers during my time there. So it was me, and I wasn't even a full teacher. I was a teacher's aide. So that's kind of like shocking.
Yeah, and it just kind of sucks how the narrative of like, because I get why the whole women movement occurred, because like they were really getting the short end of the stick in certain things, or being treated like second-class citizens. But it just went to a huge extreme. It was like a huge overcorrection. And I mean, what would be the means? Because all they'll bring back is like, oh, you guys tried to put us down. You guys don't want to give us good jobs. You guys don't want to, the whole abusing the wife in multiple different ways. And it's okay. Like, I remember like hearing different stories from different like Mexican cultures, families, of their in like the husband cheated. It's just like, yeah, it's just what men do kind of attitude, you know. And not that it was normalized, but it was just like, just let it go, just move past that. It's a guy thing. But the reason I think why women did the whole overcorrection thing, or the feminist movement got so out of whack, was because men weren't doing what they were supposed to be doing. And it's not just your generation, my generation, or my dad's generation. It's like multiple generations that were kind of
Oh, it was a
screwed with
build-up.
that.
It was a build-up.
So like it's something that we have to unlearn, because we on one side of the spectrum we have Andrew Tate, and then on the other side of the spectrum we have I think they're
Dylan
called,
Mulvaney.
I don't know who that is, but like
Bud Light.
Oh yeah,
Oh,
like
yeah.
well I heard the term soy boys.
Soy boy.
Yeah.
Betas.
Yeah, and
It's true. So the reason, let me explain.
Go ahead.
I don't know if you know why it's called soy boy. Do you understand why? Do you understand why?
Because they take the meal replacement, so whatever the heck.
Similar.
Kinda
You're,
like-
you're on the right track.
Okay.
well, soy provides a lot of, I mean, gives estrogen, right?
Heavy in estrogen.
Heavy in estrogen.
Heavy in estrogen. So when
Yeah.
you consume a lot of soy, you produce more estrogen.
Yeah.
So boys who, in other words, they're saying if you are a soy boy, you're high in estrogen,
Yeah.
not in testosterone.
And I think a big mistake that a lot of people do, even the people in our church, even the people at our church, is that we look to like Instagram celebrities or, whatever celebrities. And it's really Saint Joseph that I think we really need to include in our life, because he was the ultimate man. And honestly, he's the one that I asked for intercession while I'm at work, while I have to do a big decision that's going to affect Mia, that's going to affect, taking care of my parents. I asked for his intercession because he was the manliest man that I know of. And the more that I learn from him, the more that I understand that, like, whoa, this is what a real man is. Because I had either, like how you said, beta people that I saw that were just kind of extremely submissive to women, or like, Goku and Vegeta that were just like super crazy.
And I'm not saying don't look to the saints, especially the male saints, right? For examples. But the problem is, you're not always going to be able to reference that. You know what I'm saying? Like, some guys don't know about the saints. Some guys weren't really well versed in religion. Most of our confirmation students, for example, they don't know who the hell Saint Joseph is, respectfully. They don't. That's our job to educate them. Guarantee that. But they don't know who it is. So who are they looking to for examples? Whatever men they come across, or their father. So the reality is, yes, look to Saint Joseph. Us men who know about him and know his example, we definitely need to look to him. But we also need to start being the ones setting the example. And we need to start being more visible in the community. Because we're not. We're not being as visible as we need to in the community. We're not being the men that boys can look to and be like, oh, that's a man. You know? Like, he's not freaking lazy and effeminate. He's actually able to withstand tough situations. I think that's the thing. Like, how many men do you know that could just, and I say men, but I mean any males. Let's just put it at males. How many males do you know that in an intense situation could hold down shit and get people out? Remember that? Who's that one Instagram post where he says, I looked around the restaurant and I said, there's like one guy here who could help me take down an attacker. All the rest are we're going to have to defend him.
It was YouTube, and it was Bedrose Coolio show, I think. I don't know his name, but he was like, he's a jack dude that's super like, guys, you guys need to get it together. You guys need to work out.
That
You guys need
guy.
to learn something new. I like him, but at the same time, I feel like he's on like he's not Andrew Tate side of the spectrum. I feel like he's in a healthy place where he's calling out men. But at the same time, it's just like everybody's situation is different, you know. But at the same time, I do see the good that he's doing, that he tries to do. But anyways, the situation is that he was at a restaurant and he looked around and he just saw a bunch of overweight, weak, like very
Effeminate.
looking men, and he's all like, man, if something goes down, there's only me and maybe that guy over there that I feel like would stand up and do something in a situation. But then again, we can't always judge a book by its cover. We don't know what certain men are capable of. I know in jiu-jitsu, there's a dude that has like a pot belly and he's like a black belt at
Excited about
PMA.
me, by the way.
Yeah. Yeah, he got his black belt at Macy's.
I did. Still, I'm wearing it to
It's
this
leather.
day.
Well, I don't know,
no.
Kevin. What are
35
your thoughts on
waist.
this? I want
Well,
Kevin's
he's
thought.
military too, so I want to know if you noticed anything in the military when it comes to the men there.
Or just in general.
Like, cause it's still only men in the boot camp you went to at Pendleton, right?
What do you mean?
So like back when my dad went through boot camp, the men went to Pendleton, and the women went to some island in North
Parris
Carolina?
Island?
Parris Island.
Yeah.
Do they still do that?
No, they actually recently started. Girls can now go to San Diego, 'cause that's where boot camp is. Boot camp is
That's fucked up.
in San Diego, MCRD, and Paris Island. So, what's your question?
I'm curious.
What are your thoughts on everything?
What are your thoughts like when we're talking about masculinity? You were in the Marines. What's supposed to be like the manliest man thing to do is join the Marines.
Mm-hmm.
I think SEALs, but yeah.
But
All right,
and
bitch.
That's still under the same branch.
Right
That's still the same branch.
I'm still trying. Like, what is your like?
Like, did you notice there was some men in the Marines who were effeminate? They were soul boys.
Yeah, because there are people. This is everywhere. People slip through the cracks, right?
Yeah.
People are carried by others. There are certain people that that just couldn't carry their own weight, and it's like literally like they couldn't carry their own weight, so they had to rely on others to carry their weight. So people slip through the cracks.
Yeah. Okay. Did you ever realize like a guy who started off boot camp, soy boy as hell, and then at the end you're like, okay, finally I could trust this dude. Or did they typically, if they started a soy boy, they ended a soy boy, and you're like, I really hope I'm not stuck with this guy in a bad situation.
Well, that's kind of a tough question because
I know the whole brotherhood thing.
Yeah.
And I get that. But what I mean is, if you were stuck in a bad situation, you wouldn't just have to carry yourself out. You would have to carry them out.
yeah, because if you ever have been put, think about like your worst scenario that you're back against the wall, right?
Yeah.
Think about how much your personality changed. Think about how much like your mindset has changed. Like where you start, the human body on like desperation turns into like something else.
Yeah.
It's tough because some people like even like the manliest person can turn into like a wimp. He's like oh, she's like I'm freaking out right now. You know, you ever seen like documentaries and stuff
Yeah.
like where like people just start freaking out.
Yeah.
Someone's knocking on the door.
There's a fire in the backyard.
Again?
It might be Gabe.
Yeah,
It might be my brother, honestly.
Oh, come in. 1 second.
But yeah, as you were saying, keep going.
what was I saying?
You're saying how like you.
It is your brother.
Good.
Right
Dang.
there, buddy.
Who cut you up?
Who cut you up?
I cut myself up in the mirror.
That's why it took 4 hours. I used to cut my own hair. I know how long it takes.
Side. That's all I can
Yeah.
do. I can't do that.
Can we fit? No, we'll be good. Oh, by the way, Gabe's in now.
And he's actually part of the honorary.
He's part of the honorary
Yeah,
firefighters.
he was here. Everybody's here now.
Everyone's here.
Everybody's here now. Yeah,
Honorary firefighters,
let's
let's
go
go.
start a fire. All right.
Oh, whoa!
All right.
But we're looking for work. No, we're just talking about masculinity and stuff, and we were asking him like if he saw it in the Marines where like he saw someone start boot camp being a soy boy, and it yeah, that's crazy. Start off as a soy boy and end as a soy boy, and you're like, yo, like, can I really trust you?
Yeah, I mean, it's not even just the military; it's everywhere in general.
No, 100%.
That's what I wanted to
But that's why I'm asking. That's why I'm asking because the military perspective, that's very exclusive. It's not like you can look into the military and understand everything that goes on with you guys.
Yeah.
Like you go through hell in boot camp, and then you're supposed to go through hell at any point in life, right? When it comes to for as long as you stay in, if you get what I'm saying.
I think the military is more of an exaggerated version of it, but
Okay.
that just kind of is everywhere in general. Like, even when it comes to like just certain like scheduling stuff, like people start freaking out over like the smallest things. And that kind of like shows you who's gonna be the best dude to like go into like a conflict with.
Yeah.
I was and I hear my voice.
Like,
Give him the
Quick question. Quick, no, it's all right.
him.
That way.
All right.
But yeah,
Jeez.
Stand up,
I want to hear your response too.
I was just gonna ask you,
It's wrapped around him.
and I know I'm not on camera, but it's fine. But I wanted to ask. So I see where your line of questioning is coming from, like military men, like do they weed out the soy boys and all that? I was gonna ask this guy, and most of you actually. Would you say that people that go to the gym, different body types, have a more similar mindset?
No, honestly, that's a great question because I think initially when the gym because at some point there was a point where it like all of a sudden guys were going to the gym, right, and it was a mentality thing. I think that first wave of guys, they had the right mentality. They were going in We're here because we want to be able to carry and take care of the ones around us. We're like, 5 or 6 waves in, and now you have the soy boys that are walking in still, right? And they're coming in. No, I'm pointing at you because your point about how the military can't weed out everybody. That's what I mean.
But I think, Alex, that's on everything. Whether it's gym, whether it's military, whether it's at church. Like, everybody, like, we can't assume that a certain...
But it's more now.
Yeah. And
that's what I'm getting at. It's not that it's never existed in history. There's a soy boy here and there. What I'm saying is, at this point now, it's more soy boys than there was before. There's more effeminate men now than there was before.
Because society rewards it when men aren't masculine.
Exactly.
Because women are like, no, this guy's too masculine. This guy doesn't do this. He doesn't do that. And it's like, well, if I'm not going to get noticed or respected for acting like a man, then why would I act like a man?
Yeah.
Because that's just the end all be all. Like, it's like, at the end of the day, like, we like to feel seen, we like to feel appreciated, right? And if the way we act and how we're presenting ourselves, if that's not seen and appreciated, then why would I want to act that way?
Why would you want to act like a man if you're not going to get it respected?
Well, how do you guys define masculinity? Because the way I see it is just someone that has to do what they have to do, you know?
That's the thing. Most men nowadays won't do what they have to do. Most men won't do what they have to do. Let's go back to what we were talking about split parent households, right?
Right.
Let's think about this. There's split parent households where the dad ain't shit, and the dad won't do what he needs to do to be a father.
Right.
That's a man not doing what he's supposed to do. Let's go even farther. Let's look at teachers, right? Let's look at teachers. Some of these teachers ain't stepping up that are men. Some of these teachers aren't being a man in the classroom. They're teaching effeminate. I was guilty of that my first year. I will be 100% honest. My first year of teaching, I was going about it the effeminate way. I was scared. I had never been a public teacher, dude. I didn't know how the public school classroom worked. I didn't know how it worked. And like halfway through the year, I was having so much trouble with this student, and I couldn't get through to him, and I was like, I'm done with this. The principal came in, and he said, what are you doing? Start being a man and teach. Own your classroom. And I was like, oh, shit. I can be a man and be a teacher. It never clicked. Because guess what the only example of teaching was? Females. So what's the only example I have of what to be as a teacher? An effeminate teacher. So when I get told, be a male teacher, let's try it out. And it works better because being a man is doing what you're supposed to do in the classroom.
Right. And I mean, and doing the right thing and having integrity. Watch out, Kevin.
Do you think most men nowadays could, not just think they will, could actually do what they're supposed to do?
I don't know.
Then that's not you have a hunch. You have an opinion on it. Not just I don't know.
No, because I can say for myself that I till this day I do both still. Like there's times where I fail and that is me being effeminate. Every time that I sin, that's me being effeminate.
Yeah.
Do we all sin? Yes. So we're all being effeminate.
Yeah. But what makes you a man is that you're willing to that you're willing to notice
admit
that you're
it
effeminate
and get
call
better.
yourself
and
say, I'm being effeminate, I need to man up.
Yeah.
That's what makes you a man, is that willingness to call yourself out and to be like a man in front of us and say and call yourself out.
Most men won't do that
be
shit.
like, most men aren't gonna be like, most men don't want to apologize for their mistakes.
Right. Yeah.
Oh, well, they're not men. Most boys don't want to apologize for the mistake.
Yeah.
Men will admit when he's wrong, apologize when he's wrong, and do better.
And get better. And I'm not saying this because I think I'm the best man in the world. Hell no. I need to go back and make.
I'll second that. No, I'm kidding.
No, I appreciate it. And that's why. Here's something. Right? Here's something. I'll be 100% honest. The friend circle I have of the people I actually like will talk to when I'm struggling with something, I could count on my hands how many guys that is. And it's guys. Because I know I need guys to be real with me. Call me on my bullshit. Otherwise, I'm not going to get better. If I don't have someone being real with me, not being emotional, I don't need emotion when I'm trying to get better. Emotion's not going to help me get better. Emotion's going to let me sulk and feel and, I feel shit and I'm going to sit in my shit. No, I need someone to be like, dude, I feel like shit. What do you think is wrong? This is what you're doing wrong. Fix it. Thank you. I appreciate that. Men need to help men. So this is where, like, if you're a woman in the podcast, I apologize for listening to this.
Yeah, they're probably not even watching.
No, they're going to stop. But, like, this is where, like, men calling out men, that's what men are supposed to do. We got to call out our brothers.
Right, but we can't go completely on one side of the spectrum because emotions are still a real part of
That's where I think the middle ground is, though.
Wait, hold on. Like I know a lot of, especially like older Mexican men, like uncles, my dad, my grandpa, and all that stuff. They'd never face their emotions, and that screwed them up.
100%.
So
I never said
there
don't
has-
face your emotions.
Right.
I never said
But
that.
you did say don't go,
I said don't sulk on them.
don't sulk. Yeah. But at the same time, who showed them how to manage their emotions?
Yeah.
We're pretty lucky in our day and age because even if you don't read books, there's audiobooks that you can read on
Yeah,
that.
on how to
There's
manage your
a bunch of
emotions.
clips and reels.
Or there's people you can talk to.
Exactly. That have watched clips and reels and kind of get these ideas,
Or
know?
learned it from other people.
Yeah, but the knowledge of like emotional health is more accessible to us now.
Yes. I
Back
think
then,
that's
it was
important.
just push it down. Just
Oh,
push it down.
100%.
Hold it in. Don't show that you're sad, that you're, anger, it was always a
And
thing.
men aren't supposed to be like apathetic. You're not supposed to have no emotion. I never said that. I said don't sulk in it.
Yeah.
That's the part where we're
But-
screwed up as a man generation.
But I
is
think
we
that's,
sit and sulk in
that's
that
from
shit.
the beginning, dude. Biblically, like Cain and Abel.
But it's more so now.
I think it's always.
No, it's more so now. Like there's more men that sulk in their emotion than there was before.
I think it's more that we created a space for them.
Yeah. So I
So
feel like
Christians
Which means
say
if
that-
there's an open space, what are things gonna do? When there's open space, think about liquid. When there's an open space, what does the liquid do? It rushes to that open space. It's the same thing with men. If you give them a space to be emotional and effeminate, what are they gonna do? They're gonna rush to that space and be emotional and effeminate. We can't go and take away the idea that there is a problem right now that didn't exist before, because there's an entire generation of men that never faced war. We don't know what it means to lay down our life for a brother. We don't know that. We don't know what it means to lay down our life for a family. Right? And yet we're supposed to follow a guy who laid down his life for the world. We've never been put in that situation. Instead, we just sit and sulk in these emotions we have. I'm not saying don't talk about your emotions. Definitely. I think that is a problem. You're right. There's a generation of men that never knew how to deal with their emotions. So all they did was push it down. And so they train the next generation, hey, just deal with it. I get it.
Right.
But if you sit there and you say, well, the way to react to that teaching of just push down your emotions is to sit there and sulk in them. No, now you're swinging that pendulum the far different way. Andrew Tate is, yes, far on that one tie spectrum, because sometimes he says some shit that I'm like, bro, you're taking it too far. But the only reason he's that far is because guess what exists? The entire opposite. One can't exist unless there's an opposite. There has to be an opposite in order for one to exist.
Yeah.
So if Andrew Tate exists, it's because the exact opposite exists.
No, yeah. I completely. When we had a men's group, and
Yeah.
we talked about these 4 pillars.
We had a men's group.
We
Man.
talked about these 4 pillars, right?
Yes.
I think it's
Thank
that
you.
because you guys brought this guy up that said that he looked in a restaurant, he only saw one guy. If I'm not mistaken, that was the context of a panel, and he was having this beef with this one guy. I think his name is Andrew. He's on the Whatever podcast, and he was criticizing this guy because he looks like me. He has a belly and stuff, and he was like pointing that out, like, look at this guy, like who's the man here? Me, and he was a buff dude and like had pecs and everything, or this guy with like man tits. Like he was like putting him on blast. Andrew was fighting him with logic. Like if you were to pair them both to like a pull up contest, we all know who the winner would be.
Yeah.
But in this context, Diego to win. But in this context, Andrew had him down to the point where he wanted to change it. I don't know his name, but he wanted to change it up to dude, I could take you on.
You're making it a physical battle.
He was failing in
Yeah.
the logic
Yes.
aspect, so he just took it to where he was comfortable.
Yes.
The physical.
And I feel like nowadays that's what gets confused, right? It's like, oh, a real man's a buff man. No, it's not, right?
No.
A real man is not a buff man. A real man is not a guy who could bench 315. It's cool. Don't get me wrong.
That's a
It
nice
is
thing to do.
Cool. I can't bench 315, but it's cool, right? Like, being a man is being able to realize or being willing to put yourself aside for others. That's being a man, because that's what Jesus did. He
100%.
put himself aside for us. He got killed for us, right? So that's a man. A man is being willing to notice, like, okay, yes, I want to, like, my dad or anybody's dad, right? It's like, I want to sleep, right? But at the end of the day, I got to work to make money for my family, right?
Yup.
Yes.
I got to
100%.
sleep, but I need to spend
100%.
time with my family, right?
Yeah.
So that's him saying, okay, I know what I need, but my family needs this more. So I'm going to do it for my family. That's being a man. Being a man is realizing when you need to step aside and be like, okay, I don't matter no more.
Yeah.
I have other things that I owe before myself, right?
Yeah.
And obviously, once you get married, that's going to be your family, right? Maybe right now, depending on where you're at in life, you have other things that you need to do. Maybe it's putting yourself aside so that way you could, follow God's plan, right? But it's just allowing yourself to realize, like, you're not the end all be all. You're not in control. You need to set yourself aside, your pride aside, to be the man that God wants you to be and being willing to open up for that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
would agree. No, and then and I feel like that's where the harm is done, because when people have like these expectations of what a man is, they go with the do nots of a man. Because people say men do not cry, men do not show their emotions.
Yeah.
The best example of a man cried in a garden.
Yes.
That's
Yes.
what I want to point out. Like, there is a good, like, we have the best
100%.
example of a man, and he's right there, and he's
Crying in the
waiting for you
garden.
to come to him. Exactly.
He's asking for that responsibility to be taken away from him. Real quick, because we talked about 4 pillars, but we never said what they were. The 4 pillars of masculinity were emotional, spiritual, physical, and mental. Okay, and we said as a man, you need to be able to be really well versed in all 4 of those. And that was something that all of us would check in and make sure we were doing. Because, like we said, you could be the buffest dude, but if you ain't got no spiritual, emotional, or mental sense, you're just a one-legged table. You can't do shit with a one-legged table. Right? And it's not to say at some point you're going to have one pillar stronger than the other. That's obviously going to happen. None of us are perfect. So you're going to have one pillar. But a man recognizes where his weakness is, which leg is the weakness, and will go and try to make it better. Right? And I think, going back, today's problem is men aren't going to acknowledge where their weakest point is. And they don't want to face it. They don't want to grow in that aspect.
Yeah, and I think this applies to women too. It's just the lack of humility that we have, in the sense of we're not perfect, but yet we want the world to see us a certain way.
Yeah.
That's the problem with Instagram.
Oh, it's
That's that's the only one I'm really on, but
No.
I'm pretty sure all the other social medias too. We show what we want people to see.
Yeah. Well, the only
And-
reason I didn't bring up women was because there's no women here to speak their point. That's
No,
why I
I
don't
know,
bring
but,
up, you know what I'm saying?
men, women, and those who identify as weird things can also,
Yeah.
they can.
Those that
We can all
identify.
use humility because
100%.
yeah.
Because I feel like it's also like you brought up the social media aspect. Like that's also, I feel like that social media and just like Hollywood in general has like really put an effect on not only the appearance that men should have, but also the appearance that women should have, right? Like women are supposed to look this pretty, be this skinny, right? And it's like that sets an unrealistic standard for women. Like, come on. Like, and it sucks, But it also does it for men, especially now on the social media side of things, right? Now it's all like you, like any guy, you can see what people like, right? So if you're scrolling through your feed, you see a buff dude and you see like, oh, all these girls liked it. You're like, dang. So I need to have a 6-pack, a freaking toned chest, like, and it sets unrealistic standards, right? Because as men, deep down, we all see that and we're like, man, I would like to look like that, right? I don't think any man sees a picture of that and be like, oh no, that's not it. Like, come on.
How
man.
ugly.
Anyone sees a picture of a jacked dude, like I'm not talking like
C-bomb.
Olympian like jacked dude, but like I'm talking, I mean like,
Yeah.
but any dude, even like just a toned dude with a good like Ryan Reynolds, something like that. It's like I'd like to look like that, cause he's a good looking dude.
he's a decent looking dude.
Yeah,
As a
he's
straight man, he's a good looking
he's
dude.
like, I mean, a straight man's willing to say when another man's attractive. He's
yes.
attractive. In
You're
my
all
opinion.
That's
ugly.
humility.
You're all ugly.
I know.
It's okay.
That's why I work out. What my face can't do, the rest of me carries.
What do we do with our emotions? We work out.
We work out.
We
We
make
put them in our muscles. What do we do when we have bigger emotions? We get bigger muscles.
But tying into like the 4 columns that you explained them right now,
Yeah.
right? You explained them right now. Okay, cool. There's like Jesus is the perfect one for all of them.
100%.
It's always good to have people who are also good in certain ones. Not all of them fit in all 4 as perfectly as Jesus, and
No.
it's really tough. It's hard, But we do have saints that have showed us certain aspects of intellect, certain aspects of emotions.
Yeah.
That's kind of where I'm at right now. Where like for like physical, I have my watch later list of a bunch of people
Yeah.
explaining like nutrition, explaining like certain workouts and stuff.
Yeah.
Right now for spiritual, like I'm thinking I'm working on that one probably the most right now.
100%.
This guy Trent Horn, dude, I watch his videos nonstop. Recently, I think it was like last week, he dropped a video responding to people who were insulting his wife. And I got to see, okay, let's see how this man, this spiritual man who knows a lot about like his faith, handles it.
Yeah.
He handled it perfectly.
Great.
He pointed out the issue, defended it with scripture, It's like, it's not my word, not just my word, it's the word of God.
Yeah.
This isn't how it's supposed to be. And he defended her perfectly.
Oh well.
There's got examples of that in all four pillars living today. And if we surround ourselves with that, as well as our faith and, of course, God, that's going to build us up as the true men that we need to be.
I truly agree. I think there's men that specialize in a special column, right? There's going to be men that specialize in this, in the emotional column, right? You go to them when you need help dealing with your emotions. There's going to be men that spiritually, typically it's a priest, right? Or it's going to be maybe a theologian. And you're like, man, spiritually, I need help in this aspect. They're going to help you in that. But I think what we need to acknowledge is no man should have a pillar at 0. Right? At no point should a man, and I mean a man, not a boy, right? If you're 14, 15, 16, you're still a child. You're still learning life. Life is still, you have a lot to learn. So if you're at a
Stop
0 or
buying
something,
promise rings for your girlfriend.
yeah, stop buying promise rings at 16, bro. There's a whole world out there. No, I'm kidding. That's wrong, but it's true. But if you're a 0 at 16, it's fine. But if you're 24, 25, and you still have a pillar at 0, there's something wrong. There's no humility in the fact that you can acknowledge, I'm a 0 here. I need to grow. What do I need to do? What do I need to do? Humility is going and seeking stuff. It's going, seeking, and learning. When I feel low spiritually, you best believe I'm either reaching out to this dude to help me out, or I'm going over and listening to some podcast by Fulton Sheen, right? Because that's the spiritual aspect. That's the spiritual aspect. Emotionally, man, I'm researching to figure out what's going on with my emotions. Because, yes, men, right now, we were raised to kind of suppress our emotions, right? Because we needed to be men. And you can't, it's hard to be a man when you're dealing with emotions. It is hard to be a man and make decisions when you have emotions. I do acknowledge that. But we do need to learn how to deal with them. You're like, grab the mic. We need to learn how to deal with them. We shouldn't suppress them. We should deal with them. That's the difference. And dealing with emotions is tough when you've never been shown how. And there's a whole generation of men, I think, right now that were raised not knowing how to deal with emotions. They were taught to suppress them. Which, it's bad in the fact that, well, now you're not going to grow emotionally. You're only going to suppress them, and you're going to become a numb dude. Something bad is going to happen to someone else. If it happens to you, so be it. If it happens to someone else, you can't be there and provide empathy or sympathy because you're apathetic. Right? I would say 2-3 months, you were around me when it happened. I was apathetic because I was taking a supplement that if you're not careful with taking it...
Trenbolone.
No.
What is apathetic?
Apathetic means you feel no emotions towards another person's unfortunate circumstances.
Oh, okay.
So in other words, like, let's say shit happened and you got hit in a car accident and you're paralyzed from waist down. Fuck, that sucks. That's apathy. It's not that I don't give a shit. It's I don't have the capacity to give a shit. That's what I felt for 3-4 months. You were around me. You saw when it was happening.
I don't know.
Kylie recognized it. My sister. She was like, "Dude, you're an asshole." I was like, "Thank you for telling me now." And so I hopped off that supplement. Figured out what I needed to do. I'm back on it, but I'm taking something that counteracts that negative side effect, right? Because I wasn't. I had no emotions. Like, literally, shit could happen and it is what it is. Yeah. That's what happens when an entire generation, man, pushes their emotions down and just, it is what it is through everything. Right? We need to be able to say it is what it is sometimes right in the moment. Because the moment needs decision. The moment needs action. So we need to be able to say it is what it is. But we need to be able to go back and say, this was the emotion I was feeling. What do I need to do with it? How do I learn from that? How do I process that emotion? That's a big deal. Emotions are important. It's not that I never want people to think emotions are bad. I don't think emotions are bad. I think the problem is we sit and sulk in them. And when you sit and sulk in an emotion, you're wasting time and you're wasting your own effort. Because there's going to be problems that occur. Oh, man, that shit happened. That's too bad because I'm dealing with my own shit and I've been here for 2 weeks. Dude, a girl ghosted you. It doesn't take 2 weeks. Take 2 days, get your shit together, and move on.
Takes 2 seconds to find her best friend and
No. Kevin's nodding his head. Kevin is smiling and nodding for those who can't see him. He's getting ready. But it's things like that. I'm not saying breakups aren't hard. They are hard. breakups, any type of ghosting situation, it's hard. You're invested, right? But for you to sit there and 2, 3, 4 months down the line, you're dealing with that shit. Now you're letting your emotions dictate your entire life. And we have a generation of men that do that. I know people that do that. Why are you doing that? That's not using your emotions. That's becoming a slave to your emotions. And I think we can agree to that. Some men have become a slave to their emotion.
Yeah, and I think our faith says that we shouldn't be led by our emotions. We need to be led by logic.
Yes.
And the thing is that we don't really investigate what logic is. and that's where the issue is, because Father Ripperger always says, like, I guess his secretary said it, says, like, God made me feel a certain way, and his secretary says, yeah, but he's not the only one that has access to that channel, you know? A lot of things that, this has happened to me a lot recently.
Can you say that part again? Because that was actually a
One
really
thing-
fire line, okay? With the whole not having access to that channel.
Oh, yeah, God isn't the only one that has access to that channel.
Can you elaborate on that?
Yes, that's what I was
Okay,
about to do
perfect.
before you interrupted me.
Yeah. It was
Actually, Christian, you say something. No, I'm sick of this guy. Recently what's been happening to me, like within the last couple months, is that I just get this, all of a sudden, I can be like hanging out with you guys right now, and then just like a deep, deep, deep sadness comes into me, and I'm like, there's no reason for it.
Mhm.
And we have to recognize that right now, for example, say if I were to get it right now I'm in a podcast, I'm with my buddies, and we're just kind of having fun talking. That emotion shouldn't dictate how I shouldn't have to change how I treat you or talk to you guys, or be like, hey guys, I'm really down all of a sudden, to bring attention towards me.
Yeah.
What it should dictate, what we need to do, in my opinion, is be more self-aware of our emotions. Like, look at our emotions from the outside looking in. Like, if you're getting angry all of a sudden for something, a lot of people, it's in the road. I had a buddy. He would get angry every time he would go to mass, and he'd say, I can't be here, and he would just leave. And he was a very devout Catholic. He left for a little bit, and he's trying to come back, and now this anger's coming. Well, I mean, logically, it makes sense that the devil wouldn't want you to be in mass.
True.
So he could play with those emotions. So we can't be guided by our emotions. We have to be guided by logic, because one can be married and be like, I don't know, but I connect with this other girl a lot.
Yeah.
Emotionally,
Yeah.
right? Doesn't matter. Logically, this is your wife. You guys are one.
Yeah.
So, emotions, once again, Father Ripperger, MVP, he says emotions are meant to lead us to virtue. For example, if I'm married and I'm having attraction towards another woman, and like I feel all these like beautiful, like cute emotions, all these nice emotions towards her.
Little butterflies.
Yeah, it's just like, okay, I'm a married man,
Yeah.
so I need to turn to the virtue of faithfulness.
Yeah.
You know,
100%.
that's what
Yeah.
emotions are for.
I think that's true, and I think that's the sad part is men were taught to suppress those emotions, right? So instead of dealing with them and learning how to turn those to virtue, we turn to just pushing them down.
Yeah.
But if we just push them down, then we're not feeling anything. We get the apathy. And then now you're getting this group of men who are being told, no, feel your emotions. Be guided by your emotions. Well, now you get that where, I have these emotions towards this person. Well, I'm going to be unfaithful. It was that pendulum swing, right?
Yeah.
Where we were all the way over here where we didn't feel shit.
Yeah. Well,
And now we're feeling everything and we're going with it. That's the part that's bad, is we're going with it.
That's the other tactic that we need to understand, and this is why spirituality, I would say, is the most important out of all of them.
Agree.
Is because the way that demons work, according to exorcists, is they want you to focus on anything except God. So if they got you focused on a certain emotion, if they got you focused on how good it feels to be a leader at the church but not really practicing your faith, they're happy with that.
Yeah.
Even if it's a good thing. If they got you focused on, you know what, I'm going to be the best husband ever, and I'm going to focus on being a great dad and a good husband, but you're not focused on God, demons are happy.
Yeah, 100%. I agree with your with saying that spirituality is the hardest pillar. I can vouch that spirituality is the hardest pillar to grow in.
Oh yeah, 100%.
100%. Like, spiritually, when I hit a slump and it's hard, and then it affects all the other pillars. When I'm slacking spiritually, physically, emotionally, and mentally, I'm shit. And that's crazy. It's crazy how much spirituality, the pillar of spirituality, affects all the other ones. He's like, I want the mic.
I'm sorry, buddy. But no, it's a ripple effect. Demons will use your emotions. They will use what was the other one you said?
Mental and
Yeah,
physical.
they'll use mental and physical things to throw you off of spiritual.
100%.
Yeah, so they'll make you focus on like, oh, all of a sudden my back's hurting for no reason. Oh man, you know what? I can't do what I was supposed to do today.
Yes.
Good.
Yeah.
Good for
yeah.
them, you
Now
know?
you're lazy. Now
Yeah.
you're falling into sloth.
Mhm. Now you're saying
Gluttony.
like, you know what? I deserve a day off.
Yeah.
I
And
deserve this.
What are you doing when you're laying down doing nothing? It's a common thing men struggle with is they're laying down doing nothing.
It's not just men; it's everybody.
No,
It's not just men; it's everybody.
I'm not saying it. I'm not saying, and I'm not saying that to say women don't deal with shit. I get that they deal with shit, but there's no woman here to talk about it, so I don't want to speak negatively about them. You know what I'm saying?
That's
Kind of like if there's no Protestant here, I ain't gonna talk shit on Protestantism.
I will. No, I'll just
Here we go.
I'm glad that you brought it. I know you don't want to talk about or on behalf of women and all that stuff. But that brings up a whole separate question, actually. But my first question was this: you said you had a moment in your life when you were apathetic, right?
Yes.
Gabe just confessed right now he didn't really catch on to that, but your sister.
My sister did, which is women are more emotionally intelligent.
I wanted you to go into a lot of that.
Yeah, so women are definitely more emotionally intelligent, partially because they're more prone to be a little bit emotional, but that's because it helps you to be a nurturing person. When a child scrapes their knee, or when a son goes through a breakup or something like that, the woman understands that feeling a little bit more than a father would, because they've been told to like not deal with their emotions, right? So a woman is more emotionally intelligent. I'll give you that, women. You have that on us. We don't know our emotions for shit. We need to get better in that. So my sister recognizing that, it helped me to realize when it comes to emotion, sometimes you have to be able to open up to your wife or your girlfriend, right? You have to be able to
Right.
open up to them, because then they could be like, well, are you feeling this way because of this? Are you feeling this way and it's because you've suppressed this for so long? And you're like, fuck, I didn't think about that. like you know, and that's a very important aspect. That's where men and women complement each other, right?
Absolutely.
You need a woman who has that emotional intelligence to help you make the logical decision. Your emotions are bad. Like you said, God gave you emotions. There's a reason why they exist. So let them help. I'm not saying they should be the only reason you make decisions, but they should help in the contribution of your logical decision, right? Yeah. And yeah, when it was crazy, because when I that apathy part of my life ended up leading to this really dark side of my life too, because after I realized I was apathetic and I was feeling all this shit, my sister, when she said, yeah, you were a dick, like you were acting like an asshole, dude, the part that got to me was she said, you weren't opening doors for me anymore. And that was like, dude, I'm all about chivalry, right?
Absolutely.
And I'm not opening a door for my sister. I really was fucked up, right? And it was because my emotional pillar was at 0. I didn't give a fuck about emotions. I was all about logic.
Right.
And that was it.
Yeah.
It was pure mental and physical. Spiritual and emotional was 0.
Right.
And that was bad.
And it's funny because, and I'm putting this out, and I'm not bashing, but at the start you said, like, if there's no woman here, so I can't speak on behalf. I feel like that type of mentality is being, like, parodied nowadays. If a guy is asked what is a woman, they would say, I can't answer that question. I'm not a woman.
I know that mean. I know what you mean. I don't mean to say I don't know what a woman is. I just don't want to speak and say women are purely emotional and they have nothing else to offer. Or say or say that
Right.
or put a woman's perspective into it, because I'm not a woman. I don't know their perspective.
Right.
I will say a woman does different things from a man, and that's how it's gonna go. 100%. A woman is not the same as man. Never will be.
No,
Never
absolutely.
will be.
Yeah.
But otherwise, I am curious to see, like, what is the woman perspective on this whole decline in masculinity?
It would really be good to have another woman on to answer that question.
Bring on the other Hernandez.
I feel like it's kind of evident too. It's like if like women, a real woman won't like this decline in masculinity. If she does, then respectfully, I don't think she's a woman that I want to have in my life. You know, I feel like that's a big point of being a woman. It's like if you don't understand and like know what a man should be, like then that's that's not good either, you know.
Yeah.
Women need to know. New women need to know their worth, so that way they can find their worth in a real man.
Yeah. And we both feed off. Did you what?
Just swap seats right here. You get a speaker to yourself,
you're
bro.
right. I can cut this guy off
Yeah.
easily.
Thank you.
All right.
I'm sure the fans appreciate it. I'm just kidding.
Real quick,
Go for it.
going off of what you just said, I was watching an episode of Pints with Aquinas. He had this guy named Devin on. He gives
Devin?
talks. Yeah, I forgot. I can't remember his last name. But he asked a crowd of like, I want to say it was like middle school or high schoolers. He said, ladies, do you want a man that's just gonna like not really provide for you, just be wishy-washy and not really stand up for anything, or do you want a man who's gonna sacrifice himself for you, make sure that everything you're well cared for and put his life out on the line for you? And all the girls were yelling, sacrifice, sacrifice, like the second one basically.
Yeah.
They want a man that will do that, but men have to learn how to do that healthfully.
Yeah.
They can't be like, okay, I'm giving him here all my emotional whatever, and then I'm not carrying myself at all,
Yeah.
because it's also a balance. I mean, you taught us about humility, right? It's a kind of a pendulum of its own. Like there's the aspect of like I'm nothing, I'm whatever, completely, and then there's the other aspect which is like can't even remember right now.
The ego.
The ego, yeah. So to hit humility right at this right spot, it's a balancing act. You're gonna sway a little bit toward this way, so you're nudging yourself back in. It's just really, it's a constant adjustment. It's not really gonna be like, oh, I finally reached peak. No, it's gonna be a constant development, a constant battle. But it's what we're meant to be. We're meant to be the best version of ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Thank you, Alex.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yes, sir.
I have nothing else to say.
That's a lot.
Or maybe I've just drank too much.
I think you drink a little too much.
I did.
Plus a cigar.
We didn't drink enough.
There's a guy on the couch right now.
Kevin's almost passed out.
Well, I didn't catch what you said about. Like you said, a real woman would want a masculine man.
Yeah.
What do you think a real woman is? No, and I don't mean that in a bad way. Like I'm genuinely curious. Like
It's a trap.
it's a trap. Don't let your relationships
like,
be hearing this.
Yeah,
but
no females watch this podcast anyway.
but like I think, yeah.
Like, what's a real woman, right? So,
closer to the mic, please.
Speak with your chest.
what's a real woman, right? Good, better, okay.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. I mean, it's hard to define woman. I'm not gonna lie, it's hard, but I feel like a real woman knows her worth and sees her own beauty for who she is, right? And sees herself as a creation of God, right? A real woman is gonna say like, okay, I know what I'm worth. I know what God made me and the reason why God made me. And I'm not going to let society tell me that I need to be prettier, that I need to get, a job done on my body, so that way I can meet standards. It's not like I don't need society to believe in me. I want God to believe in me, right? So it's like, that's, in my opinion, what a real woman is not someone who accepts the tone of everyone around her, but knows herself for her worth, right? And if I feel like if a woman understands herself and knows herself for her worth, then a man is going to rise to that occasion too. He's going to be like, this woman, okay, I'm sliding into her DMs. She's not hitting me back, right? Then I need to talk to her. I need to talk to her in person, Like, it's going to make you be a man, And, like, I mean, I've experienced that, It's like, okay, I didn't rise to the occasion. Now I need to, because it's like, okay, obviously, me being a coward behind my phone ain't going to do anything. So now I need to freaking show her my face and tell her, like, yo, I'm a real man. I'm here in person. I'm talking to you now. Like, and I feel like that's where it is. Like, a woman, but I'm not saying that it should all rely on women to bring up the standard, because men need to take that role, right? Yeah. So men need to treat women like real women and respect them like real women in order for them to see, okay, this is what I deserve. Mm-hmm. This is how I deserve to be treated. This is my worth. And then they can live that way. Yeah.
Real quick.
Go ahead.
I think it's cool how you brought up like ghosting women, right?
Yeah.
Because here's a crazy thing. We talked about Joseph being the ultimate example of a man, right? I 100% agree. When he doubted his relationship with Mary, he could have ghosted her. He could have said, you know what? No, think about it though. I know this is a weird way to put it, but like in modern terms, he could have just said, nah, this woman's preggo, I'm out. He could have just said he's out. He didn't have to go and talk to her like a man about it.
and divorce her privately. That's what he went to do. He was a man about it, right? Because he saw the worth of Mary. He saw the woman's worth.
Yeah.
That's an amazing example, right? Of handling what you got to do like a man.
Yeah.
He's like, whoa.
All this, I just want to ask too, and open it to everybody, unless you have something you want to say, Diego. What do you, how do you think the use of our screens and the use of our technology, just devices, having an account that's having direct eye contact, face to face conversation. Do you think that strengthened men in that, or did it weaken men in that?
Weaken.
It's an obvious
100%.
weekend, yeah.
It's an
Yeah.
obvious regression.
Could it have strengthened men?
No.
And
No.
And I don't think so.
Not
at
in my
all.
opinion. Any opportunity where a man can take the easy way out, he's going to take the easy way out. And that's what social media does. It's like, okay, well, this girl's going to see I liked her post. This girl's going to see I liked her story. I commented, you're so beautiful. Bro, tell her in person that she's so beautiful, bro. Like, that's what it does, right? And I'm saying speaking from experience, like, I've been there. Like, at the end of the day, guess what? She's got 100 people messaging her saying she's beautiful, bro. Be the one who talks to her face and says, yo, you're beautiful.
That's fact.
Yeah.
Be that guy, because I bet you all the guys who are in her DMs, they ain't saying that to her face.
Yes.
They're seeing her, they're like, oh, there she is, she's cute, I'm smiling, but I'm gonna keep a distance because I don't have my screen and I can't be a boss man behind the screen. But when it comes to being in person, I ain't got no cajones to freaking dangle around. Like, come
There's
on,
no emotion involved in
not
this.
got no cajones.
There's no emotion
Yeah.
involved in the screen.
None at all.
So when you have an emotional zero, when you have an emotional zero, what's the easy option?
Emojis.
Act behind it in the screen.
Yeah.
Emojis.
Because guess what? And when you do it behind the screen, your emotions don't get hurt as much.
Dude.
Okay, she didn't respond to my text message. I could just text someone else, right? That's that easy, right? But oh no, she rejected me to my face, and now it hurts. Now it's personal because she did it to my face. But again,
There you go.
vice versa, it also is like, okay, like, yeah, she rejected me to my face, but guess what? If she doesn't reject me, she looked at me, she saw me, she doesn't think I'm ugly, she wants to talk to me.
Yes.
Right? Like, that's how it goes, right? Like, she sees something in the mirror that obviously I don't see. So that's where you got to switch the role. Like, confidence is important, but guess what? Confidence doesn't come from the good night's sleep. It comes from taking action, bro.
Let's go.
You can't pretend
Gabe,
and be like,
Gabe.
yeah.
You're good looking, man.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
You made him blush. Come on.
He's very good looking. We share some genetics. Okay.
It looks like you got all the good looks in the family.
It's okay.
Like-
The outside, I got the good outers, but the bad inners. He got the good inners.
The good thing is that you got rid of the bad innards.
For that story.
Gosh.
I completely forgot what I was gonna say. This was
I'll give you a chance to recoup. I like that point about the whole interacting with women aspect, right? I'm going to go and jump on the interacting with men. I feel like men have lost the ability to interact with other men, right? Personally, when I interact with my friend group of guys, I feel the most accountable. They're going to call me on my bullshit. They're going to hold me accountable. They're going to make me a better person. If I'm not around them or I disconnect from them for a certain amount of time, it's because I don't want that accountability. And they can't give me that accountability through a screen.
No.
It's not the same as a guy looking at you saying, stop being a bitch and get your shit done. When a guy looks at you and says that, damn, right?
It's a confrontation,
Like, for example,
Yeah.
my sister, when she called me out for being apathetic,
Uh-huh.
she didn't do that over text. She did that to my face.
Wow.
And I was like, shit. When my brother-in-law called me out, right? When I was acting crazy, he did it to my face. It wasn't over text. Because when you do it to your face, there's more emotion involved in that. You can see it on their face. Their social cues. There's more emotion in that. I think that, and maybe I was wrong with my answer about screens and how it could have been done right. That physical interaction with people, for men, whether it's interacting with women or interacting with men, it takes away our ability to grow emotionally.
And then to tie it back to the very start of this episode, I'm looking forward to seeing what the Pope says, because he's talking about AI and technology and
Yes.
the value of dignity. I'm really looking forward to this new Pope.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Diego.
I have nothing to say
Yeah.
because you get I hate to say this, but I'm like, this became a very mad kind of episode.
Hoorah.
Yeah.
Type of-
But it's good. I mean, we do need to hold each other accountable. We do need to raise our standards as men. And women need to do the same thing, you know.
Yeah.
And it's difficult because sin exists and on both sides, you know, men and women. And I think at least from what I'm learning and understanding, I think our biggest flaw is caring too much about what men think and what women think instead of what God thinks, you know?
Yeah.
It's very easy, and I mean, it is a religious podcast, so, but it's the truth because sometimes I get too focused on like these exterior people around me think this way about me, but what does God think about me?
Yeah.
Am I pleasing Him? Am I doing what's right for Him, regardless of whether my friends or these females don't talk to me or do talk to me or are there for me? It's like, am I really seeing what matters at the end of the day? Because at the end of the day, I need to detach from everyone just to be attached fully to God, you know? And I know it's an obvious thing, and dealing with, I mean, we're called to be in community, right?
Yeah.
With both men and women. But at the same time, it's difficult to do that if we don't know what it's like to be in communion with God, because then we won't see the dignity in the other person. So I think the best thing that we can do for ourselves is obviously not be like, oh, screw you guys, I'm with God. But it's just like, am I really with God at all times? Am I bringing God in every situation that I'm in? Which is incredibly difficult to do, and it's something that I'm not even close to mastering. I'm a white belt in it, Kevin. And but I think that's a big thing that we forget. It's if I don't know how to love God and receive His love, it's going to be very difficult to do that. And I think the best example of that, I mean, it's said biblically, you know, the closest thing to the love of God, it's marriage.
Yeah.
To give yourself completely. Going to men and women, right? It says, men, die for your wife as I died for the church.
Yeah.
And women be submissive to your man as we are supposed to be submissive to Christ
Yeah.
and His will.
Yeah, and I feel like going back to like what you were saying about how like we're not looking to God for our gratification, right? That's what it is. It's as humans we like to be gratified. And gratifying feels good, right? But it's hard to feel gratification from someone we can't physically see or touch, which is why it's so easy to not turn to God and to turn to people, because guess what? That person could tell me and I could hear it, you know, that I did good. They can pat me on my shoulder. They can give me a hug. They can pat me on my back. They can, you know, they can say all this stuff and I can feel it. And then the people around me can hear it and it can hype me up, right? But when it comes down to it, right, that's our ego, right? So that's why we have to, and it's hard. It's really hard to let go of. We have to let go of our ego and we have to ask God to give us that gratification, right? And it's not going to feel the same at first. It's not at all. I mean, I still struggle with that. It's not going to feel the same at first because we can't see or touch Him. We can't hug Him. We can't feel Him give us a pat on the back. We can't feel Him dab us up, you know?
Exactly. He's
Like,
not
it's
gonna dab you up, bro.
It's just, that's just not how it works, right? But it's just like, at the end of the day, right? We might not feel the gratification now, but the gratification is eternal life with Him. And that's easy to say, but not so easy to do. Not even close to being easy to do.
It's cool because like recollection talks to us about God's love, right? I'm not gonna give away all the secrets.
Please don't.
Not gonna do that. But one of the main things it teaches us in recollection is how to experience God's love through others' actions, right?
Yes.
And that's a big message that we don't think. We think other people's love is straight from them. We don't realize that other people's love could be God's way of interacting with us.
Yeah.
I think marriage is a big example of that,
Oh,
right?
absolutely, yes.
Sacrificial love is one of the biggest ways you can experience God's love.
Yeah.
And that's why it's important for us to remember two things. One of the first things God said when He created man was, man was not meant to be alone. We're not meant to be alone. We're not meant to go through this alone. Guys need to build a group of guys around them to hold them accountable and
Iron
grow.
sharpens iron, yeah.
Right? I'm not saying don't be around women. Never said that. Don't isolate yourself and be weird. Okay? A lot of guys doing that.
Kevin?
I didn't look. Why did we all look that way? That's crazy.
Go sit down, sit down, man, sit down.
That was messed up. But anyways, and then the other one is God Himself is three persons.
He's a relationship.
It's constant. It's constant companionship, right?
Mm-hmm.
Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. That's a constant companionship of three persons in one God.
Yeah,
And if we're supposed to be as much as we try to be like God,
yeah.
then we have to have companionship, and we have to acknowledge that that companionship is a reflection of God's love,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and we need to start treating it like that because we don't do that enough.
One thing I heard, and it was actually my girlfriend who showed me this. She was all like, when,
Shout out his girlfriend.
When Adam was lonely, he didn't create the boys. He created Eve.
Whoa.
And like, yo, that's true. Like at the end of the day, guess what? When you get married, you find your spouse, your partner. It's you two against the world. You two and God against the world. Like I'm sorry, but
Absolutely.
the boys have the boys.
Oh,
The
dude.
boys are the boys, right? But the boys cannot fill a hole that a woman can, right?
Literally.
Stop. I realized
Stop.
what I said, but but there's like
They cannot compliment.
they can't. If a guy compliments me, he's like, all right, cool, he's just being a bro. But when a woman compliments me, it's like, whoa.
I meant that more on a different way, but yes, the way you said it is right.
But I mean, yeah,
Yeah.
I like to call marriage as like the best day of your life. You know, you marry your best friend.
yeah, exactly.
No,
You're marrying your best friend, exactly.
exactly that.
And I think that's tough, because like guys nowadays, we talked about guys being less emotionally available, right? And in order for you to have a best friend, you have to be emotionally available to that best friend, male or female. Because when you're feeling emotionally down, you go to your best friend, they help you, right? Because you're
Yeah.
emotionally available to them. If you're not emotionally available to your, whether it's your partner in like a girlfriend, boyfriend type, for guys,
Yeah.
it'd be their girlfriend, you know, and then eventually your fiance and your wife. If you're not emotionally available to them, you're kind of missing an aspect of it.
Oh yeah.
But it's hard. I think that's where women need to understand we're not emotionally available, and not because we choose to be that way.
But yeah,
That's how we've come up.
but it,
We need to get better at it.
Yeah,
100%. Not
100%.
making
Yeah.
making an
No
excuses.
excuses.
We got to get better at it. But that's crazy. But there needs to be some understanding on their part. Like we're not going to be emotionally available right off the bat. It's going to take us a lot of time and a lot of understanding and patience on their part for us to become more emotionally available.
yeah, and I feel like it's also like we, especially as humans, we like to put up a scoreboard on things, right? So it's like in a relationship, it's like, okay, I'm being emotionally available, right? But I don't feel like I'm receiving any emotion. So like I'm opening up to her, but she's not opening up to me. Oh gosh, I need to stop. Because guess what? If she's not opening up to me, that means she don't trust me. So that means when she breaks up with me, she has something to hold against me.
Yeah.
She has money on me that I'm just, and she could throw it out like crazy, you know? Like that's how I see. That's how I feel like a lot of guys see it. It's like if I open up to this girl and she breaks my heart, guess what? Now she has all my most vulnerable things in my own personal life.
Yeah.
She has all of those to give out to anyone who she wants to talk bad to me about. So she knows. So if I open up to her and at my worst, right? So she knows me for the man that I know myself to be. Then, and she breaks up with me. She breaks my heart, and she can tell everyone else the man that I see myself as. You know. But then it's just a trust issue, right? You got to trust both ways,
very true.
and it's hard to do that.
Yeah.
Christian, I got a question for you.
Go ahead.
You're the married man sitting at this four
I
seats
am.
right now.
You did it.
Okay.
I did it.
I'm curious. Was it hard for you to be emotionally available at the beginning of your relationship?
At the beginning of my relationship, no.
Really?
I would say no, just because I grew up the only boy in a household full of girls. So I guess I had an advantage of like understanding that how girls behave. So I wasn't awkward. Most guys are like, "Oh, I never talked to a girl," or whatever. Like I have like 3 sisters, dude. Like they're not that hard. There's really, and I was gonna bring this up because we were talking about like relationships, and everything. In that same video, and I'm actually like advocating people to watch this. It's Pastor with Aquinas. His name is Devin. I cannot remember his last name. He said, "Man is who they are in relationship to women." So if a man sees a woman and sees the dignity and wants to uphold it and wants to fight for that upholding of that dignity, that's what a man is supposed to be. But he's gonna be faulty if if his understanding of women are through what the media is saying a woman is, with what he's learning on the internet a woman is. And right now the internet's not a good place to understand. Well, how should I date a woman? How should I be in a relationship with women? because they're gonna run into the horrible things that degrade women and objectify women. So, I love my wife. She's an amazing wife, and I'm understanding that I have a big responsibility of being the man in the household. It's just turning me right now. We're getting a third one on the way.
Yeah.
I know. Yeah, it's crazy. It's great.
Talking about Devin Shat.
I think that's his.
Devin Shat. So just real quick, it's Saint Joseph as a model for fatherhood.
Yes.
With Devin Shat, episode
Dude,
504 of Pints of
hold on,
Aquinas.
I think I
that's the
listened to
one.
that one.
That's
I
the
li-
one we've actually. There's a
Is that
small
the one
group
I
chat with
sent
me and
to
my
you?
brothers, and it's been shared among us with like 3 other guys.
I love that guy's. Too.
That was an awesome episode.
We played that in the car on our way to Texas for the wedding. I had my wife listen to it. I want you to listen to what this guy has to say. I need you to like take everything and like put it like pretty much like put it on me if I ever like stray away from what he's teaching because hold me accountable because he. Dude, yeah, like we were saying, St. Joseph is a great model, and he talks about St. Joseph. He talks about his family, how he is as a husband, how that changed when his daughter arrived. He talks about his daughter and the story of his daughter, and just go watch it. We'll put the link in the description and everything. It's a really good one. I know it. But Kevin needs to say something. Go ahead.
Keep going.
No, we want to hear it.
Oh, I was gonna say I relate to Christian because I grew up around women, and everybody tells me I have the music taste of a teenage girl, so I can relate to Christian.
We listen to Swift. All right, she's awesome. She's cool. All that good stuff. Swifty. Yeah, we got a little Swifty.
Oh, yeah.
But I forgot where I was going with this.
You're good. I think it was funny when Diego was like, "Man, this became a man rah type of podcast." What did you expect when you put 5 men in a room?
And from all aspects of life right now too. We have a
Different.
dad, we have a married man, we have an engaged man, we have a guy dating someone,
And then we have a bachelor.
We have a bachelor.
Hey,
Hey.
he's single. Don't hit him up on the DMs because it's better to be face to face.
Yes.
Exactly. Hit him up in the street, like on his walk to work.
Not on 4th
In the
Street.
street is crazy.
Not on 4th Street or Yosemite.
It's by the hour, not the night.
That's crazy.
That's wild.
And he only lasts 10 minutes. So that's
in jujitsu.
I
Yeah.
think it's a good time for Diego's
rolling
songs.
rounds.
Yeah. There
Yeah,
you
you
go.
want to swap out, Diego?
Diego, you want to swap out?
You want to swap in?
Come in, buddy. Another
We're good?
surprise. You're a liar.
I think it's time to wrap it up. Actually, you guys ready?
Are we still going to Angry Chicks?
I think we still need to get food after this. Hey, Diego, let's do closing prayer and we'll close it out. First episode of Honorary Firefighters.
Hey, what about? Oh wait, this is completely off topic. I'll talk about it later.
All right, let's go ahead. Diego, I want you to lead us in closing prayer, please.
Class.
The host of this pod, the one who brought all of us. Let's think about that. Let's all say a thank you to Diego
yeah.
for bringing
Thank
all
you.
of us men together.
Yeah, I'm sorry I just barged in the middle. I feel kind of bad, but thank you guys.
I want to say during the pod, Diego signed up for your first jiu-jitsu tournament.
Yeah, let's go!
I also want to say I've known Diego long enough to know that I won't believe it till it's done. So
Very true.
When is it? Well, you know what? Tell us later because I want to pull
Hey,
up.
are we still going to Thailand or just me? All right, let's go ahead and do a closing prayer. In the name of the Father, Son, Holy Spirit. Amen. Thank you so much, Lord, for everything that you give us, for our friendship, for our community, for the priests that we have, the clergy that we have. I ask that you continue to help us grow in community, in fellowship, and mostly grow closer to you. We pray for our Pope, Pope Leo the 14th, and all the leadership in the Vatican. Please help us to do your work and do it well, and do it out of love. We pray this in Jesus' name with the intercession of Mary and Joseph. Amen.
Amen.
In the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen.
Amen.
Clap from the mic real quick.
You should pray about it.